Chosen one, stop scrolling. Do not swipe away from this. What you are about to hear has a clock attached to it, and the clock is not mine. God is warning you tonight, and the warning is simple and heavy at the same time. This moment, the one your life is standing inside right now, comes once in a lifetime. Not once a year, not once a season, once. It was not an accident that this message found you today. It was not an accident that you almost scrolled past it either, because something has been working very hard to make sure you never hear what comes next. 3 things have been happening around you lately that you brushed off as coincidence, and I need you to look at them again with honest eyes. The sleepless nights that feel like something is trying to wake you rather than keep you up. The strange restlessness that moves through the middle of your ordinary days like a current under still water. The sense that something is about to change, and underneath that sense, the quiet fear that you might miss it. Chosen one, that fear is not anxiety. That fear is discernment, because a window is standing open over your life at this very hour, and there is a reason you can feel it beginning to close. Hear me clearly before anything else is said. God is not angry at you. He is protective of you, the way a father raises his voice not to shame the child but to stop the child from stepping past the edge of something the child cannot yet see. This warning is not aimed at you. It is thrown around you like a shield. In the next few minutes I am going to show you 3 things. What this window actually is, and why heaven opens it only once in the form it holds right now. Why you have missed openings like this before, and the hidden loop inside you that stole them without ever being caught. And what must happen in you, not around you, before this window finishes closing. I know how many voices are competing for your attention tonight. I know 100 messages have promised you revelation and delivered noise. This is not that, and you will know it is not that within minutes, because I am not going to flatter you. I am going to show you a mechanism that has been quietly stealing from you for years, and I am going to show you the season that makes tonight different from every other night. You have heard someone talk about destiny. If your chest tightens somewhere in the last 30 seconds, pay attention to that. Your body recognized something your mind has not caught up to yet. That tightening is not fear of me. It is recognition of a truth you have carried alone for a long time and never heard spoken out loud. So, before we go one step further, I want you to do something small and real. Type the words, "I am here" in the comments. Not for me, for you. Because the first thing a closing window needs from you is the simple declaration that you showed up. Heaven responds to presence, and so does your own soul. I am here. 3 words. Say them where your own eyes can see them. Now, let me take you somewhere most people never go, because what you call time and what heaven calls time are 2 different languages, and tonight you need to become fluent in the second one. The ancient Greeks, whose language carried much of scripture to the world, refused to use 1 word for time. They insisted on 2, because they understood something we have forgotten. The first word was chronos. Chronos is clock time, calendar time, the time that ticks whether you are living or merely existing. Chronos is quantity. It can be counted, spent, wasted, and it moves at the same speed for everyone. The second word was Kairos. Kairos is not a quantity of time, it is a quality of time. Kairos means the appointed moment, the supreme opening, the instant when everything that was being prepared in secret suddenly becomes available in the open. Scripture does not say that in Chronos God sent his promises. It speaks of the fullness of time, the set time, the appointed season. That is Kairos language. And here is the detail that should make you sit up. In the oldest usage, Kairos was a word archers used. It described the narrow opening through which an arrow had to pass to reach a target behind obstacles. Not a wide door, a precise gap, open for a moment. demanding that the archer be ready before the gap appeared, because no archer can draw the bow after the opening arrives. Scripture is full of this second kind of time, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. When Mordecai stood before the queen and said that perhaps she had come to her royal position for such a time as this, he was not talking about the calendar. He was talking about a configuration, a woman, a position, a crisis, and a courage, all intersecting for one brief season that would never assemble itself again. Esther was not asked to be talented. She was asked to be on time. And notice what Mordecai did not say. He did not say the deliverance depended on her. He said deliverance would arise from another place if she stayed silent, but that her house would miss what it was positioned for. That is the honest weight of a Kairos moment. The purposes of God are never held hostage by our hesitation, but our portion in them can be. The window is not about whether the plan survives. It is about whether you are inside the plan or watching it from the shore. Chosen one, your life has entered a gap like that. We are going to give it a name, because unnamed things cannot be guarded. Call it the Kairos Window. The Kairos window is a bounded season in which your preparation, your circumstances, and your calling line up so precisely that one obedient step produces what 10 years of striving could not produce outside the window. Read that again slowly. Inside the window, one step outweighs a decade. Outside the window, effort returns to its ordinary weight. This is why some seasons of your life felt like pushing a boulder uphill, while other seasons felt like the ground itself was moving you forward. You were not weaker in the hard seasons, you were simply outside a window. And you are not imagining the shift you feel now. You are inside one. Understand what this explains. It explains the person you know who is no more gifted than you and somehow moved into a life you cannot account for. They were not better. They stepped inside a window. It explains the seasons when you did everything right and nothing moved. You were not cursed. You were early or you were late. Effort is real, but effort has never been the master key. Timing is. That is not an excuse to stop working. It is a reason to start watching. This is also why you have been restless. Your spirit senses alignment before your mind can explain it. The restlessness you have been medicating with distraction, with scrolling, with busyness, is not a malfunction. It is an alarm that was set for you before you were born, going off exactly on schedule. Most people silence the alarm. You are still listening. That already tells me something about you. If that landed somewhere true in you, type the word window in the comments right now. One word. It marks the moment your understanding of time changed, and you will want to remember where that happened. Now I owe you evidence. It is fair to ask how anyone can know a window is open over a life. So let me give you the 5 signs, and I want you to count honestly how many are alive in you right now. Do not perform. Do not exaggerate. The window does not need your drama. It needs your honesty. These 5 signs have marked threshold seasons for as long as human beings have recorded them, and they are almost always misread as problems. The first sign is sudden clarity about what no longer fits. Almost overnight, things that used to feel like your life begin to feel like borrowed clothes. The job you tolerated for years becomes almost unbearable, not because it got worse, but because you got clearer. Conversations that used to fill you now drain you. This is not ingratitude. This is your soul changing size before your circumstances do. The second sign is the wakefulness. You wake between 3 and 4 in the morning without cause, mind strangely alert, as if summoned. The house is quiet, but you are not. Through history, the still hours before dawn have been the meeting hours, because they are the only hours the world is not shouting. If you have been waking like that, you have not been losing sleep. You have been receiving a scheduled appointment you did not know how to attend. Think about what you usually do in those hours. You check the time, you scroll, you worry about tomorrow, and the appointment passes unattended, again and again, while the thing that woke you waits in the silence you never entered. Tonight is not the night to fix that habit. Tonight is simply the night to reinterpret it. You were not malfunctioning at 3 in the morning. You were being called into a quiet room, and no one ever taught you that the door was a door. The third sign is accelerated endings. Things around you have started collapsing quickly. A friendship that faded in a month. A commitment that dissolved without your help. Doors closing so fast it frightened you. Hear this. A window opening is always accompanied by doors closing, because you cannot walk through what is next while carrying what is finished. What you called loss may have been luggage removal. The fourth sign is the return of the buried dream. Something you laid down years ago, something you told yourself was foolish or too late, has been knocking again. It shows up in idle moments. It shows up when you see someone else doing it. It refuses to stay buried. Chosen one, dreams do not resurrect themselves on their own schedule. They rise when the season that can hold them arrives. Maybe for you, it is the business you sketched on a napkin a decade ago, the book that still writes itself in your head on long drives, the ministry, the move, the mending of a relationship you declared dead. You buried it with a funeral of very good reasons, and yet here it is, standing at the edge of your thoughts again, not accusing you, just waiting. A buried thing that returns in a Kairos season is not a haunting, it is a summons. The fifth sign is holy fear, not panic, not dread. The specific feeling of standing at the edge of something larger than you, where fear and pull exist in the same breath. You are afraid of it, and you cannot stop looking at it. That double sensation is the oldest human response to a genuine threshold. The counterfeit thresholds of life produce either fear or desire. Only the real ones produce both at once. There is a reason the first words out of every heavenly messenger in Scripture were "fear not." Not because nothing significant was happening, but because something significant was. The fear was evidence of the encounter, not a disqualification from it. If part of you is afraid of what this season might ask of you, that part is not your weakness speaking. It is your accuracy. Count your signs. If you carry 3 or more of the 5, then this message stopped being general several minutes ago. It is addressed, and an addressed warning deserves your full attention, so stay with me, because what comes next is the part most people never get told. And if you counted only 1 or 2, do not leave. A window rarely announces itself with the full choir. Sometimes it opens with a single note, and the people who miss it are usually the ones who waited for certainty before they gave a season their attention. You clicked on a warning about a once-in-a-lifetime moment on an ordinary day when you could have clicked on anything else. Let that count for something. Why once? Why would a loving God build a moment that comes once in a lifetime and not twice? It sounds harsh until you understand what the window is made of, so let me lift the mechanism into the light. The Kairos window is not made of time. It is made of configuration. It is built from the exact person you are right now, at this age, carrying these scars and this hunger. It is built from the exact people currently positioned around your life, the ones who can open things for you this year, who could not last year and will not next year. It is built from a specific need in the world that is currently unmet and currently visible to you. And it is built from the preparation that your last decade of difficulty quietly completed. Look at your own history and you will see it. There was a year when a certain person believed in you, and their belief could have opened a specific door, and then their season in your life ended. There was a stretch of months when a certain idea was fresh and the space around it was empty, and then the world moved and the space filled. There was a version of you, hungrier or freer or braver in one particular way, who could have carried a certain assignment, and that version has since been folded into who you are now. None of those alignments were repeatable. Each was a window, whether anyone named it for you or not. Configurations do not repeat. The river you step into tomorrow is not the river of today. God can and does open new doors after missed ones, and anyone who tells you one mistake ends your story is not speaking with the heart of the Father. But no door reopens in the same form. The particular convergence standing over you now, this exact alignment of readiness and openness and need, occurs one time. That is not a threat. That is a timestamp. So do not hear condemnation in the word once. Hear the urgency of love. A parent shouting once before the car passes is not being dramatic. The street only needed one warning, because the moment only had one shape. Chronos forgives delay. Kairos does not. That single sentence is worth the whole message, so let it settle. Which brings us to the question you should already be asking. If the window is open and I can feel it, why would I need a warning at all? Why would anyone standing in front of the moment of their life need to be told not to miss it? Would we not run through it joyfully? Chosen one, no. And the reason is the most important thing you will hear tonight. Because this warning is not the first message heaven sent you about this season. It is the last in a series. There were whispers before this, nudges, quiet impressions in the early morning. That book that found you, that sentence a stranger said that rang in you for days. The whispers were sent, and something intercepted them. Something has been standing between you and your own appointed moment, and it is not a lack of intelligence, not a lack of faith, and not the devil hiding under your bed in some cartoon form. It is quieter than all of that, and far more effective. It arrives dressed as reasonable things. Busyness that shows up suspiciously on time, always exactly when you were about to take the step. Look back honestly. The week you decided to finally start, the schedule flooded. The urgent thing that was not actually important. The crisis that resolved itself the moment your window passed. Doubt that speaks in your own voice, so fluent in your accent that you never suspect it came from outside you. Old voices from old rooms, replaying words spoken over you decades ago by people who could not see what you carried. And people, sometimes well-meaning people, whose timing in your life consistently lands like a roadblock rather than a bridge. There is a name for this pattern, and I am going to give it to you soon, because once you can name it, you will start seeing its fingerprints across your whole history. But before I name the thief, you need to see the door it has been using. Because here is the uncomfortable truth. The thief has never once forced your hand. It has only ever needed to borrow a mechanism that already lives inside you. And if you could hear the heart of God tonight concerning all of this, I believe it might sound like this. I am not warning you because you are weak. I am warning you because the hour is real, and I refuse to lose what I planted in you to a distraction. Those are not my words to you. That is the posture of heaven toward you right now, and everything else tonight flows from it. So, let us open the mechanism. I want you to go back in your memory to the last time a real opportunity stood directly in front of you. Not a fantasy, a real one. The conversation you knew you should have started. The application you had open on the screen. The move, the call, the offer, the idea whose season had visibly come. Hold that memory. Now watch what happened inside you in those hours. The desire fired first. For a moment, everything in you leaned forward. Then, almost instantly, something else fired, faster than thought. A memory of an old wound. The last time you tried and it collapsed. The face of the person who laughed. The silence that followed your last brave attempt. You did not consciously recall these things. They arrived on their own, fully armed. And then your mind did something remarkable. It manufactured a delay and disguised it as wisdom. Let me think about it over the weekend. I should research this more. The timing is probably not right. and responsible people wait. The language was mature. The effect was retreat. The window narrowed while you were being responsible. And when the moment finally passed and the pressure lifted, a wave of relief washed through you. That relief felt like peace. It was not peace. It was the reward chemical of an escape. And it taught your soul to escape again next time. Never underestimate what that relief has been doing to you all these years. Every time retreat brought comfort, the comfort wrote a receipt, and the receipts stacked up into a quiet conviction that safety lives on the near side of every threshold. That is how a person becomes fluent in almost applied, almost asked, almost moved. Nobody chooses almost as a life. They are trained into it, one relieved exhale at a time. Desire fires, old pain fires faster. The mind manufactures noble-sounding delay. The moment narrows, retreat brings relief. Relief reinforces the circuit. Around and around, for years, so smooth and so quick that you never once saw it as a system. You saw it as your personality. You called it overthinking. You called it being careful. Some of you called it a character flaw, and some of you were told it was laziness, and you carried that verdict like a stone. It has a truer name. Call it the hesitation loop, a protective circuit built by pain that fires in the exact second a door opens and produces delay disguised as wisdom. It is not cowardice. It is not laziness. It was constructed by your own nervous system after real injuries, doing its clumsy best to make sure you were never hurt like that again. The loop is not who you are. It is what happened to you, rehearsed so many times it learned to sound like you. And now, hear the detail that changes everything, the one almost nobody is ever told. The hesitation loop does not fire at trivial opportunities. You can order food, change plans, buy shoes, all without a flicker. The loop fires hardest at the doors that matter most, because those are the doors where old pain has the most to protect, which means the intensity of your hesitation is not evidence that the door is wrong. It is often evidence of exactly the opposite. The loop screams loudest at destiny-grade doors. Your freeze is, strangely, a compass. It points, in reverse, at the very things you were built for. The next time everything in you locks up in front of a step, ask yourself one honest question. Would I be this afraid of something that did not matter? Sit with that for a moment, because it quietly rewrites years of your self-judgment. All the times you concluded that your hesitation proved you did not really want it, or were not really called to it. The loop wrote those conclusions, and the loop was lying to protect you. You were never absent of courage. You were present with an unhealed circuit. There is a difference, and the difference is the whole game, because character flaws are carried for life, but circuits can be interrupted. Somewhere behind you there is a moment you still visit at night, the one you did not take. You have replayed it so many times the edges are worn smooth. I am not raising it to wound you. I am raising it because you have been carrying the wrong verdict about it all these years. That moment was not proof of who you are. It was the loop, younger and stronger, working in the dark before anyone had named it for you. You could not fight what you could not see. Tonight, you can see it. Which means tonight, for the first time, the story can end differently. And the first interruption has already happened in the last 5 minutes, whether you felt it or not. A loop like this survives on one condition only. It must remain unnamed. It operates in the dark, disguised as your own voice, and the moment it is dragged into the light and called what it is, it loses the element of disguise forever. From tonight onward, when the delay arrives dressed as wisdom, a part of you will recognize the costume. That recognition is the crack in the wall. It is not yet freedom, but it is the beginning of it. So breathe once, slowly, right where you are. Wherever you are listening, Let your attention drop out of your thoughts and into your body for just a moment. Notice your shoulders. Notice whether your jaw has been holding something. Notice the weight of your hands. Somewhere in the last few minutes, without being told to, your body came down a degree. Naming the loop did that. Your system just learned that this subject can be looked at without dying. That matters more than you know, and we are going to build on it. Because now the real questions open up, and I promised you honesty, so I will not pretend they are small. If the loop was built by pain, what has been feeding it all these years? A circuit needs current. A pattern this consistent needs a supplier. And that is where the thief comes back into our story. Because the thief I mentioned earlier, the one intercepting your whispers, has a relationship with your loop that you need to see drawn in full daylight. One feeds the other. One hides behind the other. And between the two of them, they have taken moments from you that you still grieve without knowing who to blame. There is also something practical I was led to prepare for you before this message ends. A quiet discovery that touches the exact mechanism we just named, at the level where it actually lives, beneath willpower, beneath positive thinking, in the wiring itself. It is not another discipline to fail at. It is not effort stacked on effort. I am deliberately not opening it yet, because you are not ready for it until you have seen the thief in full, and you deserve to receive it as more than a curiosity. When we reach that part of the message, you will understand why it had to wait. For now, simply know that this message does not end at diagnosis. Help is already positioned down the road. Keep walking with me. If you are still here, and something in you has gone quiet and attentive in a way it was not 15 minutes ago, that is not an accident either. That is what it feels like when a message and a season arrive at the same address. Type the words, "I receive it," if this has been landing on you like it was written with your name in mind, because, in a very real sense, it was. Hold these two truths side by side as we turn the corner. A window is open, and that is the good news that most generations never get to hear over their own lives. And a mechanism is standing in the doorway, and it has beaten you before. The difference between this time and every other time is that this time you are about to see everything. The thief, the loop that serves it, the road you have already walked without knowing it, and the future that is waiting on the far side of one obeyed moment. Now steady yourself. Because before you can guard the window, you have to meet the one who has been studying it longer than you have. It is time to talk about the thief. Let me tell you how thieves work, because it is not how you think. An amateur thief breaks the window and grabs what shines. A master thief studies the house. He learns the schedule. He learns which board creaks. He waits for the one night the door is unlocked, and he walks out with the one thing that can never be replaced, and the family does not even notice until years later. Nothing was broken. Nothing was loud. That is why nobody called for help. Chosen one, what has been working against your appointed moments is not a vandal. It is a student. It has studied you for years. It knows exactly which thought slows you down, which memory freezes you, which person distracts you, and precisely how long your resolve lasts before it thins. And it has one defining quality that separates it from every cartoon villain you have ever been warned about. It is quiet. So we will call it what it is, the quiet thief. Not a red creature with a pitchfork, not a dramatic disaster that everyone can see. The quiet thief is the organized pattern of interference that gathers around a life precisely when a window opens over it. It never announces itself. It never argues with your destiny directly. It simply arranges delay after delay until the timing passes, and then it leaves without a trace, and you spend years blaming yourself for what it took. Write this on the wall of your mind tonight. The quiet thief does not need to destroy you. It only needs to delay you. Destruction would wake you up. Delay keeps you asleep. Destruction creates martyrs and testimonies. Delay creates almosts. And heaven forbid, an almost can attend church his whole life, be kind, be liked, be busy, and still arrive at the end carrying a calling with the seal unbroken. Now, how do you catch a thief no one has ever seen? You learn his 4 costumes, because the quiet thief only ever enters a life wearing one of 4 disguises, and once you can name them on sight, his entire advantage collapses. As I walk through these 4, do not just listen. Scan your last 3 months. You will find fingerprints. The first costume is engineered busyness. Not ordinary busyness, engineered busyness. There is a difference, and the difference is timing. Ordinary busyness is randomly distributed across a life. Engineered busyness clusters with suspicious precision around your moments of decision. The week you finally decided to start, everything flooded at once. The relative who needed you urgently, the problem at work that could not wait, the small crisis that swallowed the exact evening you had set aside. Run the test right now. Think of the last 3 times you resolved to take a real step toward the thing you know you are called to. Now look at what happened within 72 hours of each resolution. If you find that the interruptions arrived on schedule, arriving right after the resolve and dissolving right after the window passed, you are not looking at bad luck. You are looking at a pattern with intent. Chaos does not keep appointments. The quiet thief does. And here is the deeper cut. Most of what floods your schedule in those windows is not even bad. It is good things at wrong times. That is his genius. He learned long ago that you would recognize evil, so he stopped sending evil. He sends good. Urgent, reasonable, defensible good. Timed to land exactly where your yes was supposed to stand. The enemy of your appointed moment has rarely been temptation. It has been schedule. The second costume is the one that will unsettle you, because it does not come from your calendar. It comes from inside your own head. Borrowed doubt. Doubt that speaks in the first person, in your accent, using your vocabulary, so that you would never think to ask where it came from. It says, I am not ready yet. It says, people like me do not do things like this. It says, I missed my chance years ago. And because it says I, you assume it is you speaking. Chosen one. Here's something that took me years to learn. Not every thought that arrives in your voice originated in your heart. The mind is not a sealed room. It is a receiving station, and some of what it receives is planted. Scripture calls them fiery arrows for a reason. An arrow is shot from somewhere else. It lands in you, but it was never yours. So how do you tell your own honest caution from a borrowed doubt? You put every hesitating thought through 3 questions, and I want you to memorize these, because this is a tool you will use for the rest of your life. First question, does it speak in absolutes? Honest caution says this step needs preparation. Borrowed doubt says you will always fail. You never follow through. Nothing works for you. Always and never are not the grammar of wisdom. They are the grammar of a forger. Second question, does it arrive at thresholds? Track the timing. Your own reflections visit you evenly in calm hours and busy ones. Borrowed doubt has a schedule. It surges precisely when you stand in front of a door. If a thought only shows up when you are about to move, it is not analysis. It is ambush. Third question, what does its fruit do to your size? Follow any thought to the end and watch what it leaves behind. The correction of God, even when it stings, leaves you larger, clearer, more able to act. Borrowed doubt always leaves you smaller, less willing, more ashamed. Judge every inner voice by one standard only. Did it shrink you? Heaven does not shrink its children. That, right there, those 3 questions, are worth more than most of what you have ever heard about fighting negativity, because they turn an invisible war into an inspection. You are no longer wrestling shadows. You are checking credentials. From tonight, every thought that stands between you and your window gets asked for its papers. Absolutes, thresholds, fruit. 3 questions, chosen one. The forgeries fail all 3. The third costume is older than the other 2, and it is the one wrapped around your history. The old voices. Words spoken over you years ago, sometimes decades ago, by people who could not see what you carried. The teacher who called you a dreamer with a smirk. The parent who said be realistic with tired eyes. The one who laughed. The one who compared you. The one who said, who do you think you are? Those sentences did not evaporate when the room emptied. They were filed. And the quiet thief does not need to invent a single new lie about you, because your own archive is full of old ones, recorded in voices you loved and feared. All he has to do is press play at the threshold. That is why, standing in front of your window at 40, you can suddenly feel 8 years old. The moment is new, the soundtrack is not. I want you to do something with one of those voices right now, quietly, wherever you are. Pick the sentence that has followed you the longest. See it as a piece of paper someone once pressed into your hand. Notice that you have been carrying it all these years, as if holding it were mandatory. Now picture the hand of God opened in front of you, and place the paper into it. You do not have to burn it. You do not have to answer it. You only have to stop carrying it. Feel the difference in your grip when the paper leaves. That lightness is not imagination. That is what your soul feels like when it stops doing the thief his favorite favor, which is guarding his merchandise for him. The fourth costume walks on 2 legs. Wrong timing, people. And I need to be careful here because I am not telling you that people are your enemy. I am telling you that the quiet thief is a master of casting. He rarely sends villains, because you would recognize a villain. He sends the pleasant, the plausible, the affectionate, people whose presence in your life consistently lands like a roadblock rather than a bridge, and who somehow always show up brightest exactly when your window is opening. You know them by their timing, not by their character. The friend who calls with a 3-hour crisis on the night you set aside to begin. The voice that gets suddenly enthusiastic about a different plan for your life whenever you get serious about your own. The one who says, I just do not want you to get hurt, whose caution has buried more of your dreams than any failure ever did. They may love you. Their love is real, and their timing is borrowed, and you are allowed to notice both things at the same time. So here is the discipline, and it is gentler than you fear. You do not need to cut everyone off. You need 2 categories, and the wisdom to know who belongs in which. Bridge people carry you toward your window. Gate people, often innocently, stand in front of it. You bless both, you love both. But in a Kairos season, you stop scheduling your decisive hours around gate people. You stop announcing your window to those whose track record is delay. Guard the appointment first. Explain later, or never. Not everyone deserves a key to the room where your obedience happens. Some of you just felt a face rise in your mind while I was speaking, and you felt guilty for seeing it. Do not feel guilty. Seeing is not condemning. You are not judging a soul. You are reading a pattern, the same way a farmer reads weather. The farmer does not hate the rain. He just does not plant during the flood. Now, step back with me and look at all 4 costumes together, because there is a design here you must not miss. Engineered busyness attacks your schedule. Borrowed doubt attacks your thoughts. Old voices attack your history. Wrong timing people attack your relationships. 4 different doors into one house, and every single one of them works the same way. None of them can close your window. Read that again. The quiet thief has no authority over what God has opened. All he can do, all he has ever been able to do, is make you late for it. And this is where the thief and the loop finally meet, the 2 halves of the machine that has been running your delays. The quiet thief works from the outside. The hesitation loop waits on the inside. The thief supplies the interference. The loop converts it into freeze. The thief floods your week. The loop whispers, "See, the timing is wrong." The thief presses play on an old voice. The loop files it as evidence. Neither one is strong enough alone. Together they have been enough. Every single time. Until tonight, because a machine only works in the dark, and you are now holding a light over both halves of it. Let me show you how far back this goes, because you were not always this easy to delay. There was a version of you that heard the whispers loudly and moved on them without a committee meeting. You were small then. You built worlds out of cardboard. You asked enormous questions without shame. You created without asking permission, decided without rehearsing failure, and dreamed without checking whether it was realistic. Nearly every child begins life operating at that level of unfiltered aliveness. Then, year by year, something turned the volume down. School taught you that wrong answers cost. The playground taught you that visible dreams attract stones. Adulthood taught you that safe and small get applauded as responsible. Layer by layer, the loud, clear channel you were born with got buried under interference, until the whispers of heaven had to fight through static just to reach you at 3 in the morning. Chosen one, the restlessness you feel is not you malfunctioning. It is the original you, the pre-static you, knocking on the inside of the wall. Hold on to that image, because near the end of this message, I am going to come back to it, and I am going to show you something specific about that buried channel, something I found that stunned me, about why it was so much easier then, and what it actually takes to clear the static now. Not a metaphor, a mechanism. It is the practical piece I promised you earlier, and we are almost ready for it. But not yet, because you still do not know what the road behind you was really building, and without that, you would receive the tool and still not walk through the door. Before we turn there, I want to give you 30 seconds of a different kind, because we have been working hard and a soul needs to breathe. So just for a moment, stop analyzing. Picture this instead. It is a morning, some months from now. You wake before your alarm, and for the first time in years, there is no dread sitting on your chest. The decision you have been circling for so long is behind you. You took the step. The world did not end. The people who mattered stayed. In that morning, you are not somebody else. You are not suddenly rich or famous or finished. You are simply on the right side of your own yes. You drink your coffee standing at the window, and you notice the strangest thing. The noise is gone. The endless arguing committee in your head has gone quiet. Not because you silenced it, but because the question it was arguing about has been answered. There is work ahead, real work, but it is your work, inside your window, and effort inside the window carries a tailwind. You feel the difference in your chest before you can explain it. That morning already exists in the direction of your obedience, chosen one. I did not describe it to sell you a fantasy. I described it because your imagination has spent years rehearsing the other morning, the grey one, the one after another missed window, and it is only fair that both futures get equal airtime in your mind. You will walk into one of them. That is not pressure. That is just what doors mean. If something in you exhaled during that picture, mark this moment. Type the words, "I release it," in the comments. The old verdicts, the borrowed doubts, the paper you have been carrying, I release it. 3 words, typed by your own hand, where the record can hold them. There is something that happens in a soul when the inside agreement becomes an outside declaration. The thief works in secret, so the answer to him begins in the open. Before I leave the costumes behind, let me make this practical, because revelation without practice evaporates by Thursday. I am going to give you a 7-day watch, starting tonight. This is not homework for a grade. It is surveillance on your own life, and it takes 2 minutes a day. Each evening this week, before you sleep, ask yourself 3 questions and answer them somewhere you can see. Where did unexpected demands cluster today? And what were they positioned in front of? Which thought tried to shrink me today? And did it pass the 3-question inspection? And who occupied my decisive hours? Bridge people or gate people? That is all. Do not fight anything yet. Just watch. Because here is what will happen, and I have seen it too many times to doubt it. Within 7 days, the pattern that has been invisible your whole life will be standing in your notes in plain sight, wearing dated timestamps. And a thief who has been documented is a thief who has already lost his best weapon. Some of you will see something else in those notes, something stranger. You will notice that the interference intensified the very day you started watching. Do not be alarmed by that. Be informed by it. Surveillance provokes the surveilled. If your week gets suspiciously loud after tonight, that is not evidence that this message was wrong. That is evidence that it was aimed correctly. Nobody guards an empty vault. And let me say a word to the skeptic sitting quietly in some of you, because I honor skepticism when it is honest. Maybe you are hearing all this language of thieves and windows and thinking, or maybe life is just busy and doubt is just doubt and coincidences are just coincidences. Fair. Hold your skepticism. I am not asking you to believe in a mechanism you cannot see. I am asking you to run the 7-day watch and look at your own data. If the interruptions in your life are random, your notes will show randomness, and you can dismiss everything I have said with my blessing. But if they cluster, if they keep appointments, if they stand in front of doors, then you will not need me to convince you of anything. Your own handwriting will do it. Truth is never afraid of an audit. One more thing about the old voices, because I left something unsaid and it belongs to someone listening right now. Some of the sentences in your archive were not spoken by enemies or careless teachers. They were spoken by people you loved, people who are gone now. And part of why you have kept carrying the paper is that letting go of the sentence feels like letting go of them. Chosen one, hear this gently. You can keep the love and return the verdict. Those are separate inheritances. The one who spoke over you out of their own fear was giving you their ceiling, not your assignment. Honoring the dead never requires living small. You can lay the sentence down tonight and lose nothing of them that was actually love. There is a woman I think of whenever I teach this. She had carried her father's sentence for 30 years. Be careful, do not embarrass us. People like us, keep our heads down. He had been gone a decade, and she was still obeying a fear he himself had only borrowed from his own father. 3 generations of one borrowed sentence. When she finally saw it for what it was, not a family value but a family wound, she said the strangest thing. She said, I thought putting it down would feel like betraying him. It felt like introducing him to who I actually am. Some of you will understand that tonight better than any theology. So the machine is mapped, the watch is set, the archive is open, and for the first time, you are the one holding the files instead of the thief. What remains before we reach the tool I promised is the piece that changes your posture. And posture, it turns out, decides everything at a threshold. Before the road turns, I want to plant 3 anchors, because a message this long deserves landmarks, and because each of these will matter again before the end. Anchor 1, the window is real, and it is open. Anchor 2, the thief is real, and he is quiet. Anchor 3, the loop is real, and it is yours to interrupt. Everything you will hear from here forward hangs on those 3 nails. And there is a 4th thing, not an anchor but a question, and I can feel some of you already asking it. If all this is true, why did no one tell me sooner? Why did I have to lose Windows to learn the vocabulary of Windows? I am not going to give you a tidy answer, because I respect you too much for that. But I will tell you what an old preacher told me once, and it has held up. The depth of your late understanding becomes the weight of your next obedience. The people who learn this vocabulary early tend to spend it cheap. The ones who learn it after losses spend it like blood money. You are not behind. You are loaded. Let me also show you what this looks like when a person actually beats the 4 costumes, because scripture left us a case study so precise it reads like surveillance footage. A man named Nehemiah stood on a broken wall with a window of 1 season to rebuild it, and the interference came in the exact shapes I have named for you tonight. First came the wrong timing people, Sanballat and his companions, arriving with mockery, then with invitations. Come down, they said. Meet with us on the plain of Ono. Pleasant words, reasonable words, a meeting, nothing more. And Nehemiah gave history one of its greatest sentences: I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. He did not argue. He did not explain his calendar. He did not attend the meeting to keep the peace. 4 times they sent the same invitation, and 4 times he gave the same answer, because he understood something you must understand about your own season. The meeting on the plain of Ono is never about the meeting. It is about the wall standing unfinished while you attend it. Then came the borrowed doubt, a hired prophet whispering that assassins were coming, that he should hide himself in the temple, that fear was just being sensible. Notice the costume. The threat sounded spiritual. It came from a religious voice, and Nehemiah ran it through exactly the inspection I gave you. Does it speak in absolutes? Does it arrive at the threshold? Does its fruit shrink me? Should such a man as I flee? He said. The doubt failed inspection, and the wall went up in 52 days, inside the window, with the same hands that trembled. Chosen one, nothing about your situation is new. The costumes have not changed in 25 centuries, because they have not needed to. What changes? The only thing that ever changes is whether the person on the wall can see them. Most cannot. As of tonight, you can. Now let me press on something tender, because I promised honesty, and this is where it is owed. Some of you are hearing all of this with a weight on your chest that has a very specific name, and the name is regret. Because as I described the costumes, you did not just recognize your present, you recognized your past. You saw the year the busyness flooded. You saw the person whose caution you obeyed. You saw the whisper you had and did not move on, and the life that went to someone else who did. And a voice in you is saying quietly, this message came too late. I want to answer that voice directly, and I want you to hear the answer in your body, not just your mind. The grief is legitimate. Do not let anyone, including me, talk you out of honoring what was lost. A window that passed was a real window, and pretending it did not matter is not faith, it is anesthesia. So let it matter. Let it sting for a moment. Here, in the dark, where no one is watching you listen. But now, hear the rest. The quiet thief has one more trick, his last and his favorite, and it is this. He uses the grief of the last window to blind you to the current one. He keeps you at the funeral of the old moment, so you will miss the birth of the new one. Regret, in his hands, is not a feeling. It is a schedule conflict, and the cruelest thing you could do to your own future tonight is to spend this window mourning the previous window. At the exact hour, a new one stands open over your head. You did not fail those old moments because you were worthless. You failed them because you were unarmed. Nobody had named the loop for you. Nobody had shown you the costumes. You walked into ambushes blind, and losing a fight you could not see is not the same as losing a fight you could. Tonight is the first threshold of your life where you stand armed. That is why this warning arrived now and not sooner. Not because heaven was late, but because tonight is the first night you were ready to hear all of it. There is one more costume variation I need to flag before we move, because it is the one aimed specifically at people who make it this deep into a message like this. Spiritualized delay. The thief, when he sees that busyness and doubt are failing, will try one final disguise, and it is his masterpiece. He will dress delay in the language of devotion. I am just waiting on God, you will say, in a season when God is waiting on you. I am praying about it, you will say, about a step that has already been confirmed 3 ways. More confirmation, more preparation, one more sign, one more month. It sounds humble, it photographs well in church, and it is the same old frieze wearing a robe. Understand me carefully here, because I will not be misquoted on this. Waiting on God is real. Some seasons are genuinely for standing still, and moving early can wreck things that patience would have ripened. But there is a test, and it is clean. True waiting has an assignment inside it. When God stations a person, he gives them something to build, guard, or become while they stand. False waiting has no assignment. It is just parked fear with a worship soundtrack. Ask yourself tonight which one you are in. If your waiting has no work inside it, it is not waiting, it is hiding. And while we are being this honest, let me say the quiet part about comfort. The thief does not only use pain to delay you, he uses comfort more. A tolerable job, a pleasant routine, a life that is 70% fine. Do you know how hard it is to leave 70%? Misery evicts people. Comfort embalms them. Some of you have not moved, not because your life is too hard, but because it is exactly comfortable enough to make the window negotiable. Hear this with love. The warning of God tonight is aimed at your comfort more than your fear, because your fear at least knows something is at stake. Your comfort has been lying about the clock. So now, look at the full map of what you are up against, and notice how it has nothing to do with your worth. A quiet thief with 4 costumes and a robe for emergencies. A loop in your wiring that converts his interference into freeze. An archive of old sentences he can play on demand. A comfort level calibrated to make delay feel sustainable. That is the whole machine. That is everything that has stood between you and every window you have ever lost. Not your unworthiness, not the anger of God, not fate, a machine. And machines, chosen one, can be switched off. That is not a figure of speech, as you will see before this message ends. Now gather yourself, because the road turns here. Everything so far has been about what stands against you, but there is a stretch of road behind you, years of it, that you have completely misread. And until you see what your pain was actually building, you will keep bringing a beggar posture to a door you were meant to walk through as an heir. It is time to talk about the 90% you have already traveled. There is a question that decides what happens at every threshold, and almost no one asks it out loud. Not are you ready, not are you able. The question is this: who do you believe is arriving at the door? Because 2 people can stand in front of the same open window with the same skills and the same calling, and one walks through while the other waits outside pleading, and the difference between them is not talent, it is posture. Most of you have been approaching your appointed moments as beggars, palms up, voice low, hoping to be allowed, rehearsing your case like a defendant, as if the door were a courtroom and you were about to be examined on why you deserve to enter. And I understand where the posture came from. Years of delay will do that. Enough closed doors and a person starts assuming every door is a judgment. But watch what the beggar posture does at a Kairos threshold. The beggar hesitates at the exact moment boldness is required, because beggars wait to be invited twice. The beggar interprets every obstacle as confirmation of unworthiness, because that is the beggar's theology. And the beggar, given the choice between stepping through and asking one more time for permission, will always choose permission, because stepping through feels like presumption. Chosen one, do you see it? The beggar posture is the hesitation loop wearing dignity. It looks like humility, it functions like delay. Here is what no one told you. The door in front of you was not built as a test of your worthiness. It was built as the destination of your preparation. You are not arriving at that door as an applicant. You are arriving as the person the last 20 years were specifically constructing. And to see that, you have to go back down a road you have badly misread, the longest road you have ever walked, the one paved with everything that went wrong. We are going to name this road too, because it deserves a name after everything it cost you. Call it the 90% road. Here is the claim, and I know how it sounds before you see the evidence. The pain of your past decades was not the delay of your calling, it was the construction of it. You have not been waiting for your moment all these years. You have been being built for it, and the building is roughly 90% complete, which is precisely why the interference around you has become so loud lately. Nobody ambushes an empty road. The thief does not waste 4 costumes on a person who is decades away. I can hear the objection rising, and it is fair. My pain did not feel like construction. It felt like waste. The betrayal was not a seminar. The lonely years were not a curriculum. Do not hand me a greeting card, you are thinking. I lived those years. Good. Hold that honesty. And now walk with me through the most documented life in Scripture, because heaven left us the receipts on exactly this question. A 17-year-old boy dreams of significance, and the dream is real, given by God. And what does the road to it look like? A pit dug by his own brothers, then slavery in a foreign house, then a false accusation with no defense, then prison, years of it, and the crowning insult, being forgotten by the man he helped, forgotten for 2 more full years. If you had interviewed Joseph in year 11, would he have called any of it construction? It was waste. It was malice. It was one long theft of his youth. Then one morning, in a single day, he stands before Pharaoh, and everything reverses. And this is the part people miss when they tell the story fast. What qualified Joseph in that room was not the dream. It was the road. Slavery in Potiphar's house taught him to run an estate. Prison taught him to administrate under pressure, to manage desperate men, to serve faithfully with no visible reward. The years of being forgotten taught him the one thing palaces cannot teach, how to hold power without needing it. When the window opened, it demanded a man who could interpret, administrate, and forgive. The pit built none of that. The pit started it. Every stage built a piece. Do the arithmetic of his life honestly. 13 years between the dream and the throne. 13 years that looked like detour and functioned as installation. And when it was over, Joseph himself did the accounting in one sentence to the very brothers who dug the pit. You intended it against me, but God engineered it for good. He did not say God prevented it. He did not say it was not evil. He said it was conscripted. Even the malice was drafted into the construction. That is not a nice thought for a coffee mug. That is the actual mechanics of how heaven builds people for windows. Now, bring it home, because Joseph is not the point. You are. I want you to run 4 audits on your own road. 4 categories of what your worst years were actually installing, while you thought they were only taking. Audit the betrayals first, the people who turned, the trust that was spent and burned. What did they leave behind, besides the scar? Look closer. They left you discernment. You read rooms now in ways that cannot be taught in safety. You feel the wrongness in a deal, a person, a promise before your mind can articulate it. That radar was purchased. It cost you dearly, and it now guards everything you are about to build. The people who never bled for their discernment do not have any. Audit the delays second. The years when nothing moved, when doors stayed shut for no reason you could see. What were they installing? Endurance. Not the poster kind, the real kind, the capacity to keep tending something unrewarded, which is the exact muscle that separates people who can carry a big assignment from people who are merely excited about one. Excitement is common. Sustained faithfulness in the dark is rare, and rare things are expensive, and you have already paid. Audit the wounds third, the ones that came from just living, the grief and the losses and the seasons of being nobody. What did those install? Empathy with weight in it. There is a kind of comfort only the wounded can give, a way of sitting with broken people that cannot be faked, because broken people can smell a tourist. Whatever your calling turns out to touch, it will involve human beings, and human beings open only to those who carry credentials of scar. Your wounds are not disqualifications from the assignment. In most true callings, they are the license. And audit the invisible years last, the long stretches when nothing happened and nobody saw you, the years you wrote off entirely. Chosen one, do you know what a bamboo farmer sees for the first years after planting? Nothing. Bare ground. He waters bare ground, season after season, looking like a fool. And then, when the root system finishes, the visible growth comes with a speed that makes neighbors call it miraculous. It was not miraculous. It was sequenced. The invisible years were not empty. They were root years. Depth is only ever built in secret, because anything that grows tall in public without private depth becomes firewood at the first storm. Betrayal built your radar. Delay built your spine. Wounds built your license. Invisibility built your roots. Now stand back and look at the inventory and tell me again that your road was waste. You have been reading your own past like an accident report, and it was a bill of materials. This is why the posture change is not positive thinking. Positive thinking is a beggar practicing a confident face. What I am describing is arithmetic. You are not hoping to be adequate for the door. You are constructed for it at roughly 90% with receipts. Let me show you what the air posture actually looks like, because I do not want you leaving with a slogan instead of a skeleton. 3 marks, and you can start wearing all 3 this week. The first mark: an air investigates instead of auditions. When an air approaches a door, the question running under their breath is not, will I be accepted? It is, what is this room, and is it part of what I am to carry? Do you feel the difference in your spine? The auditioning person is being evaluated by the moment. The investigating person is evaluating the moment. Same door, same facts, entirely different nervous system. Starting this week, when opportunity or decision stands in front of you, deliberately swap the question, not, am I enough for this? But, is this aligned with what I am becoming? Watch what that single swap does to the freeze. The second mark: an air moves at the speed of confirmation, not the speed of certainty. Beggars wait for certainty, and certainty never arrives, because certainty is not part of the covenant. Confirmation is. The air gathers the 2 or 3 witnesses, the inner resonance, the counsel, the open circumstance, and then moves, accepting that the last stretch of every real step is walked on water and not on proof. If you require a guarantee before you obey, you do not have faith in God. You have faith in guarantees. The third mark: an heir carries the family history to the door. When an heir stands at a threshold, they do not stand there as an isolated individual with a thin personal track record. They stand inside a lineage of impossible doors already opened, seas that split, walls that fell, stones that rolled. The heir does not say, look what I can do. The heir says, look what this house has done. Your courage was never supposed to be self-generated, chosen one. It was supposed to be inherited. That is why isolation is so expensive at thresholds, and why the thief works so hard to make sure you face your windows alone. There was another man at another threshold who teaches us the same lesson from the failing side, and I want you to see it because his failure is gentler than you were told. Moses at the burning bush. The window of 400 years stands open in front of him, and listen to what comes out of the man. Who am I to go? What if they do not believe me? I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech. Send someone else. 5 objections in a row. Chosen one. That is not a dialogue. That is a transcript of the hesitation loop, preserved word for word, 3,500 years old. Desire fired. The bush was burning and he walked toward it. Then the old pain fired faster. A murder, an exile, 40 years of proof that stepping up ends badly. Then the delay, dressed as humility. I am not the right man. Send someone else. And now watch what God does with the loop. Because it is not what religion trained you to expect. He does not argue with a single objection. He does not hand Moses a self-esteem seminar or refute the resume point by point. He answers all 5 objections with one sentence. I will be with you. Presence, not persuasion. Because heaven understands what we spent tonight learning, that the loop cannot be debated out of a person. Debate is its home field. It has to be displaced by something stronger arriving in the same second the loop fires. Remember that architecture. Displacement, not argument. It is about to matter enormously. And notice one more thing at that bush, the question that should follow you all week. God asks Moses, what is that in your hand? A stick. 40 years of shepherd nothing, and God builds the entire deliverance around it. He did not equip Moses with something new for the window. He revealed what the wilderness had already put in his hand. That is your audits, chosen one. That is the whole doctrine of the 90% road folded into one question at one bush. What is already in your hand? The answer is everything the bad years installed, and heaven intends to use precisely that. Not some imaginary better version of you that took a smoother road. Because here is the mathematics of preparation that nobody teaches. In the economy of God, nothing is wasted, but everything must be converted. The pain does not automatically become power. It becomes inventory, and inventory sits in the warehouse until someone reads it, names it, and carries it to the door. 2 people can have identical warehouses. One dies, with it packed in boxes. The other walks it into a calling. The difference is never the inventory, it is the reading of it. Tonight, you read yours, some of you for the first time. That was not a feel-good exercise. That was you, converting raw years into equipment. Let me tell you about a man I knew, because sometimes one modern story lands harder than ancient ones. He was 52 when the company he had served for 21 years eliminated his position in a single Tuesday morning meeting. 52, chosen one. The age when the world quietly decides you are finished and expects you to agree. And for the first weeks, he agreed. He sat in his car in parking lots. He rehearsed the funeral of his usefulness. But this man had people around him who spoke the vocabulary you are learning tonight. And slowly, he began to run the audits instead of the eulogies. 21 years had installed an entire operating system for a certain kind of problem, and he knew where that problem lived in 100 smaller companies that could never afford a man like him full-time. The severance was not a coffin. It was, and he laughed when he first said this out loud, it was seed money with grief attached. Within 2 years he was carrying more assignment, more provision, and more aliveness than the job had ever given him. And he said the sentence, I want you to keep. If I had been rescued from that Tuesday, he said, I would have missed my life. I am not promising you his outcome. No honest voice can promise outcomes, and you should walk away fast from anyone who does. What I am showing you is his sequence. Crisis, read correctly, became threshold. The ending he mourned was the door opening, dressed in the costume endings always wear. And the only difference between him and the thousands who sit in the parking lot forever is that somebody handed him the vocabulary in time, which is exactly what is happening to you right now, tonight, at whatever your version of 52, and that Tuesday is. So the road is 90% walked. Now I owe you the hard news, and I would rather you hear it plainly than lose you to a soft lie. The last 10% is different. It is not more of the same road, only shorter. It is a different surface entirely, and this is where many prepared people still fail, standing in sight of the door, holding a completed inventory and unable to cross. Here is why. The first 90% of the road was built by effort, grinding, surviving, learning, enduring. Effort is the language of that stretch, and you speak it fluently because you had no choice. But the last 10%, the stretch between the prepared person and the actual step, does not respond to effort. You cannot white-knuckle your way through a Kairos gap. Remember the archer. When the opening appears, the drawing of the bow must already be finished. The final stretch is not about pushing harder. It is about being clear enough, aligned enough, quiet enough inside to release at the right instant. Effort got you to the door. Effort cannot walk you through it. Something else does. And this is where everything we have mapped tonight converges into a single point. So, follow the thread closely. What stands in the last 10%? Not the world, not the economy, not your age or your resume. The hesitation loop stands there, fed by the quiet thief, replaying the archive, dressed as wisdom. The final stretch of every window is internal. It always was. The battlefield of the last 10% is measured in seconds and fought in your wiring. In that tiny gap between the desire firing and the delay firing, the gap where every window you ever lost was actually lost. Which means the question of your life has quietly changed shape while we talked. It is no longer, am I prepared? The audits answered that. It is no longer, is the window real? Your own signs answered that. The question is this: can the space between you and one obedient step be cleared of static in time, not managed, not motivated around, cleared? And that question, chosen one, is not a mystery. It has an answer, and the answer is more concrete than anything I have said tonight. I told you at the beginning there was something practical waiting down this road. We have nearly reached it. And since we are this deep, let me answer the question the practical part of your mind has been holding politely for an hour. How long do I have? You heard once in a lifetime and your stomach dropped, and somewhere in you a countdown started that I never gave you. So let me speak carefully, because both halves of this are true, and you need both. I cannot tell you the length of your window, and neither can anyone else. And if someone claims a number, days or weeks or a date, guard your wallet and your soul. Windows are measured by alignment, not by calendars. What I can tell you is how to read the closing signs honestly. A window that is closing announces itself the same way it opened, through configuration. The circumstances that were fluid begin to harden. The people who were positioned begin to move on. The idea that felt fresh begins appearing in other hands. And the inner pull, this is the one to watch, the inner pull begins converting into grief. When anticipation starts tasting like morning, the window is not closed, but it is closing. Some of you know exactly what I am describing because you tasted the first grief this month. That taste is why this message found you now and not next year. But hear the other half. You do not respond to a closing window by panicking, because panic is just the loop with the volume turned up, and decisions made in panic belong to the thief. You respond with sequence. Clear first, step second. A person who clears the static tonight and steps this season is not late. A person who spends another year managing is. That is as honest as I can be without lying to you, and it is more than most voices will ever tell you. One more practical thread, and it concerns witnesses. Everything in this message has been between you and God, and that was deliberate. But no window in Scripture was ever walked through in total secrecy. Esther had Mordecai. Moses got Aaron before he got Pharaoh. Nehemiah had builders on the wall beside him. Even the Son of God took 3 friends into the garden on the worst night of history. The thief knows this pattern, which is why his favorite arrangement for a chosen person is a crowd around their life and no one inside their decision. So this week, find your one, not your 12. One bridge person, the one whose presence has consistently landed like a door opening, and tell them one true sentence. Tell them, I believe I am in a window, and I am about to move. That is all. You are not asking permission. Heirs do not ask permission. You are installing a witness, because a spoken intention with a witness has a survival rate that a private intention never will. The loop thrives in the sealed room of your own head. Crack the seal, and if you scan your life honestly and find no bridge person yet, do not use that as tonight ends. You have one witness already, the record of your own hand, which is exactly why I keep asking you to type the words, and why thousands of others reading them beside you matter more than decoration. Look at the comments under this message sometime. Every I am here, every I walked it, is a person standing at their own version of your door, most of them just as alone as you feared you were. You were never the only one, chosen one. You were only the only one in your room. Let me sharpen the difference between managed and cleared, because your whole future may hinge on not confusing them. Managing static is what you have been doing for years, and you are good at it. Pep talks before the big conversation, motivation videos at midnight, writing the goals again in a new notebook, as if the loop respects stationery, white-knuckling the fear down long enough to almost act. Managing works the way holding your breath works. It is real, it is effortful, and it always ends the same way, with the static rushing back in the exact second you need quiet. Because management is a ceiling fan in a burning house, activity without address. Cleared is a different animal. Cleared means the interference is not being wrestled in the moment, because it is not arriving in the moment. Cleared means the gap between desire and action stays open long enough for you to walk through it, not because you fought heroically in those 2 seconds, but because the ambush was dissolved before the door ever appeared. Every person you have ever envied for their calm decisiveness, the ones who seem to just move when it is time, they are not braver than you. Their gap is quieter than yours. That is the entire difference, and it has never once been about courage. And this raises the question that should be burning in you by now. Why does the loop fire faster than thought in the first place? You have felt it. The freeze arrives before you can even form a sentence against it. By the time your conscious mind shows up to argue, the verdict is already in your body. Your reasoning arrives at the scene like police after the robbery, taking notes on what already happened. What does that tell you about where this thing lives? It tells you the loop does not live where your arguments live. It lives underneath them in wiring older and faster than language. And this, chosen one, is the answer to the most painful question of your last decade, the one you have asked in the dark after every seminar and every sermon and every burst of resolve that died by Friday. Why does knowing never seem to be enough? Why can I see the pattern with perfect clarity and still freeze on schedule? You thought it meant you were uniquely broken, or lazy, or faithless. It never meant that. It meant you were bringing language to a fight that happens below language. You were reasoning with machinery. The insight was real. It was simply arriving at the wrong address. So when I tell you the last 10% must be cleared and not managed, I am telling you the fix has to reach the level where the ambush actually happens, below the pep talks, below the notebooks, down where a lifetime of static settled into the wiring itself. Hold that thought with both hands, because when I open the practical piece in a few minutes, this is the lock it fits. You will see instantly why everything else you tried was sincere and doomed at the same time. There is a picture that may help you hold all of this. Imagine your calling as a room, already furnished, already lit, with your name on the deed, And imagine that years ago, without your permission, a doorman was hired to stand at its entrance. He was hired by pain, trained by repetition, and given one instruction: let no version of you through that might get hurt again. He does not hate you. He was hired to protect you, and he has done his job with terrifying faithfulness, turning you away from your own room over and over, always in your own voice, always for your own good. You have tried to rush past him. He is faster. You have tried to argue. He wrote the arguments. You have tried to wait until he sleeps. He does not sleep. Tonight you finally learned his name and saw his employment file, and that matters. But hear me. He is not dismissed by being identified. He is dismissed when the authority that hired him is displaced by a higher one, at the level where he actually stands. Displacement, not argument. The bush already taught you the principle. What remains is the practice of it, and the practice is closer than you think. Before we cross into the final approach, settle one thing in your heart, because after this point, the message stops being information and starts being decision. If everything ended right now, you would already be carrying more sight than most people ever receive about their own patterns. The window, the signs, the thief and his costumes, the loop and its transcript, the road and its receipts, the doorman and his contract. That is a complete map of the territory, but a map, chosen one, has never once moved a person through a door. And this particular door, as you now know, has a clock on it. So here is what I need from you in the next stretch. Not agreement, you have already agreed. Not emotion, you have already felt. I need the specific kind of attention a person gives when someone is about to hand them the thing they actually came for. Because everything until now was the diagnosis, and everything from here is the cure. And the strange truth about cures is that they are only ever received by people who have stopped negotiating with the disease. If the road audits moved something in you, if you can feel your posture straightening, even slightly under the weight of your own receipts, type the words, "I walked it" in the comments, because you did. Every year of it. And a person who knows what they paid stops begging at doors they own. Take one breath here, a real one, before the final approach. In through the nose, slow. Hold it a heartbeat, out, slower. The message from here forward is not longer road. It is the door itself, the static that guards it, and the switch that was waiting under your hand the whole time. Stay with me. The next few minutes are the reason this warning found you at all. Do you remember the child I asked you to look at? Hours ago it must feel like now, the one who built worlds out of cardboard and asked enormous questions without shame. I told you then that I would come back to that child, and that when I did, I would show you something about the buried channel that stunned me when I first found it. We have arrived. This is where the message stops being ancient and becomes measurable. Some years ago, researchers ran a study that should be famous in every church and every school, and is famous in neither. They took a standard test used to measure genius-level creative thinking, the capacity to see many answers where others see one, and they gave it to 1,600 small children. 98% of those children scored at the genius level. 98 out of every 100. Then they followed the same children as they grew, testing again years later. The number collapsed. And by adulthood, the researchers found that the level nearly every child possessed naturally survives in fewer than 1 in 1,000 grown people. Read that the way it deserves to be read. Genius, in the sense of that unfiltered, many-doored, original aliveness, is not rare in human beings. It is standard equipment. What is rare is keeping it, which means the question of your life is not, was I given anything? You were. It is documented. The question is, what happened to it? And the answer is not a mystery either. School happened, with its single right answers and its red ink. Ridicule happened. Rows and schedules and screens happened. The modern way of life happened, pressing down on that channel, year after year, the same years. Notice this, the same exact years the old voices were being recorded and the loop was being wired. Now, let me give you the physical half of the picture, because it exists, and it won a Nobel Prize. A neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry spent years studying people whose two brain hemispheres had been surgically separated, and what he proved changed science forever. You do not have one mind in there. You have two distinct processes, a left hemisphere that handles language, logic, sequence, and caution, and a right hemisphere that handles imagery, intuition, pattern, and leap. Two instruments designed to play as one orchestra. In a small child, before the world gets its hands on them, those two hemispheres fire together in an easy, fluid partnership. That is why a 5-year-old moves from idea to action with no gap. The knowing and the doing live in the same breath. That partnership, whole brain synchrony, is the biology underneath what that study measured. And the collapse the researchers charted, from 98% to 1 in 1,000, is what it looks like from the outside when the orchestra gets split into two players who stop listening to each other, one shouting cautions, the other locked in a back room. Chosen one, do you understand what I am telling you? The static is not a metaphor. The freeze you feel at thresholds, the gap where desire fires and something faster smothers it, has a physical address. When the analytical hemisphere runs alone and unpartnered, it does exactly what it was built to do. It calculates risk, replays failures, and manufactures caution endlessly with no counterweight. The intuitive hemisphere, the one that hears the whisper and sees the finished picture and knows how to leap, is still in there, still receiving, but the line between them is down. The whisper arrives and cannot become a step, because the two halves that must agree for a human being to move as one no longer sit in the same room. That is the hesitation loop in its native habitat. That is why it fires faster than language, because it fires beneath language in wiring. That is why every seminar failed, why insight never converted, why you could see the pattern perfectly and still freeze on schedule. You were sending arguments to an address where arguments do not deliver. And that is why the child you were did not need courage seminars. That child was not braver than you. That child was synchronized. So, the real question, the one everything tonight has been marching toward, now stands in plain daylight. If the channel is still there, and the interference is physical as well as spiritual, then what actually restores the connection? Not in theory. In practice, for an adult, at your age, with your history, prayer reaches the spirit, and nothing I am about to say replaces it. But you have prayed for years, and the freeze remained, because this particular wall stands at a level that intention alone was never going to reach. What reaches it? Here is what most messages like this never say. Everything you have learned tonight is true, and if you walk away with only the map will comfort you and change very little by Friday. What you have been missing was never information. It was the one piece that works underneath the place where information stops. The answer is not in your mind, chosen one. It is somewhere you have not looked yet, and it is smaller and simpler than you are braced for. So let me now speak plainly for a moment. No imagery, no ancient stories, because you deserve to see this with clear eyes before anything is offered to you. Here is where we are. A window of alignment is open over your life, and windows like it do not repeat in the same form. The thing that has cost you every previous window is a hesitation circuit that fires below conscious thought, built by old pain, fed by interference, and it cannot be argued with, managed, or motivated away, because it lives in the wiring underneath language. What that circuit needs is not more effort but displacement at its own level. the restoration of the natural synchrony between your two hemispheres, the state you were born in, the state where knowing and doing share one breath. And there is a specific, simple, physical way to invite that restoration, developed by a medical specialist, grounded in the same Nobel-recognized science I just described, that requires no talent, no discipline, and no belief. Only a few quiet minutes and a pair of headphones. That is what I am about to describe. Who is it for? For the person who has felt everything tonight land like their own biography. If that is not you, what follows will be easy to skip. If it is you, the next few minutes may be the most practical thing you have heard in years. You have carried the diagnosis long enough. You are about to hold the remedy. Before I describe it, I owe you a piece of my own story, because you should know how a message like this gets made. When I first began teaching about windows and the hesitation circuit, I had the map and nothing else, and it haunted me. People would write to me after these teachings, and the letters all rhymed. "Thank you," they said. "Now I finally understand why I freeze." And then, months later, some would write again, and the second letters broke my heart. "I understand it completely now," they said. "I watched myself do it again anyway." Understanding changed the commentary. It did not change the outcome. I had handed people a perfect description of their prison and no key, and there are few heavier things to hand a human being. So, I went looking, and I want you to know how I looked, because it earns what comes next. I was not looking for something to sell. I was looking for something that worked at the right address, below language, where the ambush actually happens. I read the discipline approaches, and they were noble, and they failed the very people who needed them most, because discipline is exactly what a split system cannot sustain. I looked at the clinical machines, and the science was real, and the price walls were obscene. I sat with the breathing methods, 20 slow minutes a day of a practice so demanding that almost no one outlasted their second week. Everything true was either unreachable or unsustainable, and everything easy was noise in a costume. I nearly concluded that the last 10% simply had no bridge that ordinary people could afford to cross. Then a colleague, a man whose discernment I have trusted for years, asked me a strange question over coffee. "Have you looked at what the sleep doctors are doing?" "Not the productivity gurus," he said. "The actual physicians, the ones who spend their lives inside malfunctioning nervous systems, because one of them has built something for exactly the gap you keep describing, and he built it for headphones, not clinics." Some months ago, I came across the work of a neurologist in New York City named Dr. Daniel Barone, a physician who has spent his career studying how the brain heals and regulates itself, and who became quietly fascinated with the same question we have been circling tonight. Not how to make people smarter, but how to restore the synchrony that modern life dismantles. What he developed, after years of clinical work and testing, is called the genius switch. And when I first understood what it actually was, I sat back in my chair, because it answers the exact mechanism we have spent this entire message uncovering. The genius switch is an 8-minute audio experience built on what Dr. Barone calls neural sync technology. You put on headphones, you close your eyes, and you listen. That is the entire protocol. 8 minutes a day. No mantras to repeat. No visualizations to strain after. No journal. No discipline to maintain. No belief required. The sequence is engineered to invite both hemispheres back into partnership. The state, Dr. Sperry documented, the state you had as a child, what Barone calls whole brain activation. It works beneath your awareness, the same level where the loop itself lives, which is precisely the point. Displacement at the level of the ambush, not another argument delivered to the wrong address. And before your careful mind raises its hand, let me honor its questions, because they are good ones. This is not meditation with new packaging. Meditation is beautiful, and takes months of practice to touch what this aims at directly. This is not the neurofeedback machines that clinics run, which do target the brain but cost around $300 an hour with a specialist, or $7,000 for a home unit. And it is not the sound wave gimmicks scattered across the internet, which address only surface rhythms. Neural sync is a different approach to a different target, the partnership between the hemispheres themselves, the place where your knowing and your doing lost each other decades ago. I will tell you about one woman, because her story is the shape I keep seeing. A woman from California, a nurse, exhausted, decades into the tolerable life, the kind of person who had heard every whisper and kept every appointment except the ones with her own calling. She began the 8 minutes as skeptically as anyone. Her word for the early days was quiet. Not fireworks, quiet. The committee in her head, she said, stopped meeting at its usual hour. Within weeks, the decision she had circled for 6 years, the one every reader of this message has a version of, she simply made it. Her sentence stays with me. It did not feel like becoming someone new. It felt like the person who decides and the person who dreams finally sat at the same table. That is what it sounds like when the doorman loses his authority. Chosen one, not thunder. Agreement. Now let me address what it costs. And I want to walk you through this the way it was walked to me, because the numbers tell their own story. When colleagues in his field saw what Dr. Barone had built, the conversation around value landed near $500. And honestly, next to a $7,000 home unit, that is not a strange number for something aimed at the same restoration. It was eventually listed at $49 because Barone insisted it reach ordinary people and not just those with clinic budgets. But through the page connected to this message, and I am told this is specific to this page, there is an additional $10 off, $39. One decision, less than a dinner out, for the tool aimed at the exact gap where your windows have been dying. And they include 4 gifts alongside it. A guided visualization from one of the most loved creators on the Calm meditation platform, walking your imagination through the 4 rooms of a restored life: money, love, health, and happiness. A smart grocery guide naming the 10 common American foods that fog the mind, and 5 shortcuts that save serious money at the stores you already shop. A classic manifestation book, more than a century old, the root text behind most of what is taught today about attracting provision, and a beautifully designed page of the 5 habits that build an ideal future, made to be printed and placed where your eyes land each morning. Then there is the guarantee, and this is the part that removes the last excuse the loop could manufacture. It is an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once, listen 80 times. If it does not do for you what it has done for more than 18,000 everyday people, every dollar returns to you. No conditions, no interrogation, which means the only thing you genuinely cannot get back here is the thing this entire message has been about: time. The window does not offer refunds. I need to say this next part carefully, because it is true and it creates real urgency that I did not invent. The $39 figure is not guaranteed beyond this page and this season. The price has been scheduled to rise, and I do not control when. And more importantly, hear the deeper clock underneath the smaller one. You are not buying an object, you are timing an alignment. 8 quiet minutes a day, beginning this week, is how the static clears while your window is still a window. The same 8 minutes beginning next year is just self-improvement after a door has finished closing. Same tool, different arithmetic. That is why now matters. And it has nothing to do with sales pressure and everything to do with the calendar heaven is keeping over your life. One warning, and I give it because I would be failing you without it. This exists only through the official page. It is not on Amazon. It is not on YouTube or Spotify or any app store. Anything wearing its name in those places is a counterfeit, and counterfeits in this space are not harmless. They are noise sold as signal, static sold as cure. The genuine link is in the description below this message and pinned in the first comment. One place. Go nowhere else for it. And let me answer the question hiding under all of this. Why audio? Why would sound be the road in, rather than words or effort or electrodes? Think it through with me, because the logic is almost embarrassingly elegant. Every other approach has to get past the gatekeeper. Words arrive at the analytical hemisphere, which inspects them, argues with them, files them. Effort is supervised by the very system that is split. But sound, structured the right way, does not knock at the front door at all. Hearing is the one sense that was never given a gate. You cannot close your ears the way you close your eyes. Long before you learned language, before the schools and the red ink, sound was already reaching both hemispheres at once, directly, beneath commentary. It is the original back channel into the whole brain, the one road the doorman was never assigned to watch. Barone did not choose audio because it was convenient. He chose it because it is the only delivery system the loop cannot screen. And why 8 minutes? Because the aim is not marathon depth, it is daily signal. The hemispheres do not need to be lectured back into partnership. They need to be reminded, regularly, briefly, the way a tuning fork reminds a string. 8 minutes is long enough for the invitation to land and short enough that no life is too busy for it. Which matters, because you already know which costume the thief would use against a 2-hour protocol. He cannot flood a schedule that only needs 8 quiet minutes before sleep. For once, the practice is smaller than the interference that would stop it. That is not an accident. That is design with your enemy in mind. So here is how I will leave this part of the message, gently, the way it deserves. If your spirit has been resonating through this entire teaching, if the window, the loop, the static, the child, if all of it has been landing like your own story told back to you, then follow that resonance to the link in the description and the pinned comment, and let the restoring begin tonight. And if you feel no resonance, keep the map, run the 7-day watch, take the free wisdom with my whole blessing, and skip the rest without a flicker of guilt. This was never for everyone. It was for the ones who felt their own name inside it. You know which one you are. And one more story belongs here, because some of you are not standing in your window alone. You are standing in it for your whole bloodline. A woman from Manhattan wrote about beginning the 8 minutes in a season when her family line felt like a museum of missed windows. Her grandmother had the gift and buried it. Her mother had the gift and drank it quiet. She could recite the family pattern like a psalm, brilliance arriving in every generation and dying in the same gap, between the knowing and the doing, every single time. She called it the family curse, and she had spent 40 years assuming she was simply the next exhibit. What changed for her did not feel supernatural, and that is why I trust it. The static cleared, the gap held open, and one Tuesday she did the undone thing her mother and grandmother never did. Small step, she said, ordinary daylight. Nobody clapped. But she wrote something afterward that belongs in this message. The curse, she said, was never a curse. It was a disconnection, inherited like a dialect, passed down because nobody in the line had ever had the means to end it. I was not the next exhibit. I was the one standing when the means arrived. Chosen one. Some of you just felt that in your spine, because you know your own museum. You know exactly which gap has been eating your family line for generations, the same frieze wearing different faces in different decades. Then hear what her story is actually saying to you. The pattern that repeats through a bloodline does not need a hero to break it. It needs one person, one season, one window, and the means. You may be the first one standing when all three arrived at once. Scylla, Sit with what that would mean. Now, because I respect the mind God gave you, let us put the remaining questions on the table face up, the ones your careful side is holding right now. I can hear the first one clearly. This sounds spiritual, and that science story sounds secular, so which is it? And is it even right for a person of faith to use a physical tool for what feels like a spiritual problem? Chosen one, look at how you already live. You pray for protection, and you also wear a seatbelt. You ask for healing, and you also take the medicine. You seek peace, and you also close the window when the street is loud. No one calls the seatbelt a betrayal of faith. The body is part of the creation, and tending it has never been opposed to trusting its creator. If the static in your wiring is partly physical, then addressing it physically is not a substitute for prayer. It is the clearing of the road that prayer has been trying to travel. The whisper was never the problem, the reception was. You are not replacing the voice of God with an audio track. You are sweeping the static off the line he has been speaking through all along. The second question is quieter and more personal. $39 is real money. For some of you, it genuinely is, and I will not pretend otherwise, because pretending would insult you. So, do the honest accounting. Count what the loop has already cost you. Not in drama, in numbers. The raise never asked for. The idea someone else shipped. The years in the tolerable job. The opportunities that died in the gap between desire and delay. Nobody totals that invoice, because it arrives silently, a decade at a time. Against that ledger, this is not an expense. It is the smallest number that has ever stood next to this particular problem. And with the unconditional guarantee, the arithmetic only has one direction it can go against you, and that direction is doing nothing. The third question is the one you may not say out loud. What if I am too old for this? What if my window is beautiful but my wiring is too set? Too many decades of static, too late. Hear the science one more time, because it is kind on exactly this point. The capacity for the two hemispheres to repartner does not expire. The channel is buried, not demolished. The 1 in 1,000 adults who kept it are not younger than you. They were simply never split. And the restoration does not require the years the burying took. The burying was slow because it worked against your design. The clearing is faster because it works with it. A man I read about, a business owner from Texas, put it this way after his first weeks. He said the ideas did not feel new. They felt returned. Like mail that had been held at the post office for 30 years, all arriving at once. Nothing about you has been lost, chosen one. It has been held. And the last question, the skeptic's question, remains the most honorable one in the room. What if it does nothing for me? Then it costs you nothing but the 8 minutes a day you spent sitting quietly with your eyes closed, which no human being has ever regretted, and every dollar walks back to you under the guarantee. I keep returning to that guarantee not because it is clever, but because of what it does to the loop. The loop needs risk to work with. It builds all its delays out of what if it goes wrong. Remove the risk, and the loop is left arguing against 8 quiet minutes. Watch it try. For the first time, you will hear how thin its voice actually is when it has nothing to protect you from. Let me also set your expectations truthfully for the first days, because false fireworks are how trust dies. What people describe first is not lightning, it is subtraction. The nurse called it quiet. Others describe the morning committee meeting in their head simply failing to convene. A strange spaciousness around decisions that used to be crowded. Sleep that goes deeper sooner. The buried dream, visiting in the daytime, politely, instead of only at 3 in the morning. And then, somewhere in the early weeks, the signature moment, the one everyone reports in different words. A threshold appears, the kind that always triggered the freeze, and the freeze simply is not there. The desire fires, and instead of the ambush, there is room. You will do the thing before you notice you did not hesitate. That is what restoration feels like from the inside. Not a new you, The original one, reporting for duty. Understand who this is for, one more time, so there is no confusion in your spirit. The genius switch is not for everyone. It is not for the person looking for a magic object to replace their own yes. No audio will walk through your window for you. Obedience is not outsourceable. It is for the prepared person whose yes keeps dying in the last 10%, the one who has the road behind them and the window above them, and a 40-year-old ambush standing in between. It clears the ambush. The step remains gloriously, terrifyingly yours. That is exactly as it should be. Heaven has never once wanted a puppet through that door. It wants you, synchronized, arriving whole. So make the decision the way heirs make decisions, cleanly, tonight, one way or the other. Yes or no, but not maybe. Maybe is the thief writing your signature. If it is yes, the link is waiting in the description and the pinned comment. And 8 minutes tonight is the first sweep of static off a line that has waited decades to carry your instructions clearly. If it is no, then let it be a clean no, and keep every other tool from tonight, the watch, the questions, the audits, the witness, and walk your road with my blessing. But choose. You have lived in, maybe long enough, and the window has not. If you have made a real decision in the last minute, either one, seal it in the open where the loop cannot revise it quietly later. Type the words, "I have decided" in the comments. 3 words that are the opposite of everything the doorman was hired to produce. I have decided. Sealed, dated, witnessed. There is one more piece of this message, and in some ways, it is the piece everything else was protecting, because a cleared channel and an open window still leave one question standing, the oldest question, the one the child you were never had to ask. What do I actually do on the first morning of the rest of this? Stay with me. We are going to walk the last 10% together, step by literal step, and then I am going to speak something over your life that has been waiting at the end of this message since before you pressed play. Breathe now, truly. Let the shoulders fall and the jaw unlock. The weighing part of this message is behind you, and whatever you decided, and heaven writes with people who decide. What remains between us now is the most practical stretch of the whole journey, the answer to the question every prepared person asks on the first morning of a new season. What, exactly, do I do? Because here is a secret about windows that almost nobody tells you. The step through is almost never grand. You have been picturing something cinematic. The resignation letter slammed on the desk, the dramatic announcement, the burning of boats. And because you pictured it huge, the loop had an easy job. Huge things are effortless to postpone. But look at the actual thresholds in scripture, and in every life you admire. A staff stretched over water, a knock on one door, a single sentence spoken to one person. The windows of God are entered through doors the size of a decision, not the size of a movie. So let me teach you how to find your one obedient step, because it is findable tonight with a pencil. It sits at the intersection of 3 questions. First, what can I do within 72 hours? Not this quarter, this week. The window responds to motion, not planning. Second, what is small enough that the loop cannot inflate it into a catastrophe? If the step terrifies you into paralysis, it is not the step. It is 3 steps welded together. So, split it. And third, this is the sharp one. What makes retreat slightly harder? A message sent cannot be unsent. An application submitted exists. A person told becomes a witness. The right first step leaves a small crater behind you, chosen one. Not a burned boat, a moved stone. Something that makes the old shore 1 degree less comfortable than it was yesterday. Write that step down tonight before you sleep. 1 sentence. And then hear the rule that protects it, because this rule is worth more than motivation ever was. Do it in the morning, early, before the committee reconvenes. There is a mechanics to this. The loop is a rested predator by afternoon. It has had hours to gather evidence, rehearse disasters, and dress delay in fresh wisdom. But in the first hour after waking, especially if the static has begun clearing, the gap stands wider than at any other time of day. The saints called it the morning watch. The scientists talk about the quiet before the noise of self fully boots. Call it what you like, use it either way. Obedience has a half-life, and it is longest at dawn. And when you take that step, expect the strangest sensation of this entire journey. It will feel smaller than the fear promised. You will do the thing that 40 years of freeze guarded like a dragon horde, and it will take 4 minutes, and the sky will not move, and you will stand there, almost offended by how ordinary it felt. Do not be offended, be instructed. That gap between the size of the fear and the size of the step is the exact measurement of how much of your life the loop was renting. The dragon was always a doorman. The horde was always yours. Now, about the days that follow, I need to prepare you for 2 visitors because they always come, and they always come on schedule. The first visitor arrives within a week, and it is the counterattack. I told you during the 7-day watch that surveillance provokes the surveilled, and action provokes it tenfold. The moment you move, expect the costumes to flare. The schedule will flood, suddenly, plausibly. An old voice will find a new mouth. Someone will question your step in exactly the cadence of the sentence you laid down. And the gate people, bless them, will get very affectionate. Chosen one, when this happens, do not interpret it as a sign you were wrong. Read it like a general reads intelligence. Nobody counterattacks in advance that does not matter. The flare-up is not the punishment for your step. It is the confirmation of it. The second visitor is stranger, and it arrives around the 2nd or 3rd week, the anticlimax. The step is taken, the window is entered, and life still looks like your kitchen and your commute. Where is the palace? Something whispers. Maybe nothing happened at all. Hear this clearly. Entering a window has never meant instant arrival. It means the tailwind begins. Joseph entered his window in one morning, but the famine plan took years to run. What changes immediately is not your circumstances. It is the direction of compounding. From inside the window, the same effort that used to return nothing begins returning threads, meetings, ideas, energy, small doors opening off the main one. Watch for threads, not thrones. The thrones are made of threads. I also need to speak to 3 people specifically before we go to the mountaintop together, because 3 kinds of listeners are still holding a wound that could infect everything after tonight. To the veteran, the one thinking I have heard teachings like this for 30 years. You are right, you have, and I honor the library in you. But be careful with the sentence, I have heard this before, because the loop loves that sentence. It is the only disguise that lets a person nod through the exact medicine they are dying without. You have heard about windows. Have you ever once stood armed at one with the mechanism named, the costumes mapped, and the static addressed at its actual address? Hearing was never the verb your life was waiting on. Do not let familiarity buy the thief 1 more decade. To the exception, the one thinking this works for everyone else. Somewhere along your road you signed a private contract declaring yourself the one case beyond pattern, and you have been honoring that contract with tragic faithfulness. Chosen one, tear it up tonight. The study did not find that 98% of children were geniuses except you. Sperry did not discover 2 hemispheres in everyone but you. The mechanisms in this message are not aspirational, they are anatomical. You were not built as the exception to grace. You were built as evidence of it, and your only real exception was surviving long enough to hear this. And to the one who feels unworthy, who has listened to this entire message with a small ache, saying these windows are for cleaner hands than mine. Look one more time at the roster heaven actually used. A murderer at a bush. An exile on a wall. A boy sold by his own blood, who became the reason that blood survived. The record is embarrassingly consistent. Windows are not wages for the worthy. They are appointments for the prepared, and preparation, as you now know, is mostly made of wreckage. Your hands are not too stained for the door, chosen one. The door was measured for hands exactly like yours. Now let us talk about the hour itself, the threshold hour, because I have prepared you for the days before it and the days after it, and it would be malpractice to leave you unprepared for the 2 seconds in the middle. Here is what will actually happen. Some morning, quite soon, you will be standing in front of your step, the message half typed, the number half dialed, the door handle under your hand, and time will do the thing it does at real thresholds. It will go thick. And in that thickness, even with the static clearing, even with everything you now know, you may feel the old signature begin, the flutter, the sudden fascinating urge to check something first, the sentence assembling itself about tomorrow being wiser. Do not be dismayed that it shows up. Be ready for it. A doorman who worked 40 years does not vanish from memory in a month, and his ghost still knows your accent. What you do in those 2 seconds is not a battle. Remember the bush, displacement, not argument. You do not debate the flutter, you occupy the space it needs. Here is the practice, and it is small enough to work. 1 slow breath in through the nose, and on the exhale, 3 words spoken or mouthed. The same 3 heaven gave a stammering man at a burning bush. You are with me. That is the whole maneuver. The breath holds the gap open 1 beat longer. The words put a second voice in a room the loop needs silent. And in that occupied, accompanied space, do the physical half of the step. Press send, press call, turn the handle, say the first sentence. Motion completes what displacement began. The ghost cannot argue with a door that is already open behind you. And between now and your threshold hour, train on the small doors. This is how crossing becomes a muscle instead of an event. Every single day offers a dozen miniature thresholds. You have been auto-declining for years, so small the loop barely guards them. The honest answer instead of the smooth one, the hand raised in the meeting, the apology owed for a week, the unfamiliar road home. Take 2 of those a day deliberately as reps. Each one is nothing, and each one teaches your nervous system the same sentence at a depth words never reach. We cross thresholds now. By the time the big door arrives, crossing will not be a foreign country. It will be your daily commute, just wider. While the window is open, you must also guard the vessel. And I say this as practically as I would say it to my own family. A window season is a high signal season, and you cannot receive high signal through a trashed antenna. So for these next weeks, treat yourself like mission equipment. Sleep like it is part of your calling, because it is. The 3 in the morning meetings only bear fruit in a body that also gets its rest. Feed yourself like the machine matters, and ration the noise. You do not need a monastery, but you may need 3 weeks of fewer feeds, fewer debates, fewer other lives poured through your eyes at midnight. Every hour of noise is an hour of static reaccumulating on the very line you are paying 8 minutes a day to clear. The fast is not legalism, it is signal protection. There is one more fear I have to name, because for many of you, it is the true final boss, standing behind all the others, wearing sensible clothes. Provision. The step makes sense. The window is real, and the mortgage is also real, and somewhere in you a voice says, faith does not feed children. I will not mock that voice. It is trying to keep people you love safe, and it deserves a real answer. So here it is. Go back through every provision story you have ever trusted. and notice a mechanical detail that changes everything. The sea split after the feet moved toward it. The manna came after the camp walked out. Never stockpiled in Egypt in advance. The oil multiplied as it was poured, not while it sat in the jar being planned about. The pattern is embarrassingly consistent. Provision in the economy of God is not issued to intentions, it meets motion, which means the sentence, "Show me the provision, and then I will step," is not caution. It is a category error, like demanding the tailwind before leaving the ground. And notice what your one obedient step actually risks. I taught you to choose it small. 72 hours, retreat slightly harder, a moved stone. That step does not bet the mortgage. It bets an evening, a conversation, an application, a beginning. The loop wants you to price the entire journey tonight. 20 years of imagined catastrophe loaded onto one 4-minute act, because at that price, nobody moves. Refuse the invoice. Heaven asks you to fund the step, not the decade. The decade gets funded the way roads get lit, one lamp at a time, each appearing at the edge of the last lamp's reach. You have never once been shown mile 10 of anything before mile 1, chosen one, and yet here you are, still fed, still housed, still called. The lights have always come on. They were just never early. Now come stand on the mountaintop with me for a few minutes, because you have earned the long view, and because a soul moves toward what it has already visited. I want to walk you through 1 year from tonight, not as fantasy, but as forecast, the reasonable trajectory of a person who cleared the static and took the step inside the window. Close nothing, just see. It is a year from now, an ordinary weekday evening. You are tired, but notice the flavor of the tiredness. It is the tiredness of building, not the tiredness of resisting. There is a difference. Your body knows the moment it feels it. For decades, your exhaustion came from holding yourself back 40 hours a week, from the grinding inner war between the life you lived and the life you carried. That war is over. The energy it consumed, and it consumed oceans, has been coming home month by month, and people keep asking what you changed, your skin, your sleep, your presence, and you keep not knowing how to say the true thing, which is that the two halves of you finally work for the same government. The work in front of you, 1 year out, is your work. Imperfect, unfinished, sometimes frightening, and unmistakably yours. The buried dream is not buried. It is on the table, in pieces, being assembled in daylight, like an engine. Some threads became rope. A person you told became a door. An idea from one quiet morning became the thing that now pays attention back. And the moment I most want you to see, it happens some random Tuesday. You catch yourself deciding something significant, quickly, cleanly, without the committee, and only afterward do you realize what did not happen. The freeze did not come. You stand there in your kitchen, absurdly moved, mourning and celebrating at once, because you are meeting the person you were this whole time, under the static. Look also at the people in that 1 year picture, because the relational landscape will have quietly rearranged itself, and I want you to be prepared for both halves of that. Some people will have come closer, and they will surprise you. The bridge people, the quiet believers in the back rows of your life, step forward when a person starts moving, because builders recognize building. Expect a friendship you thought was casual to reveal itself as scaffolding. Expect help from directions that make no sense on paper, the strange arithmetic of aligned seasons, the right stranger at the right table at the right hour. And some people will have drifted, and this is the half that needs preparing. Not enemies, just passengers of the old configuration. People whose connection to you was actually a connection to your smallness, to the predictable you, the one who could always be counted on to stay put and absorb and orbit. Your motion will unsettle them, not because they are wicked, but because you were a landmark in their map, and landmarks are not supposed to walk. Let them recalibrate. or let them drift, gently, without a trial. A person entering their calling always sheds a certain weight of audience. It is not loss, chosen one. It is ballast, leaving a rising thing. While you are inside the window, you will also want instruments, some way to know the tailwind is real and you are not simply telling yourself a prettier story. So here are 4 markers, readable within weeks, that a person is genuinely operating inside their window and not outside it. The first marker is unreasonable timing. Things begin landing with a punctuality that effort cannot explain. The person you needed answers the day you finally reach out. The information arrives the week it becomes relevant. You will start to feel gently conspired for, after a lifetime of feeling conspired against. Log every instance, because the log becomes armor on doubting days. The second marker is compounding instead of leaking. Outside the window, your projects consumed energy and returned fatigue. Inside it, work returns threads. Each finished thing spawns 2 openings. Each conversation leaves you with more than it took. When your efforts start behaving like investments instead of expenses, you are inside. The third marker is clean burdens. The assignments that find you in the window feel heavy and right at the same time, like a full pack that fits your back. Outside the window, weight chafes and embitters. Inside it, weight organizes you. If you find yourself tired in the evening and strangely eager for morning, that combination is nearly impossible to counterfeit. And the fourth marker is quiet at the old battlefields. The subjects that used to ambush you, the comparisons, the resentments, the compulsive reopening of old wounds at midnight, they begin simply to bore you. Not because you resolve them all, but because a person with a live assignment stops mining dead ones. Peace, it turns out, was never the absence of noise, it was the presence of direction. Watch for those 4. Unreasonable timing, compounding, clean burdens, quiet battlefields. 2 or more within a season is not luck. It is telemetry, your own life confirming the window in real time. And on the day all 4 are humming at once, do something old-fashioned about it. Stop wherever you are and say thank you out loud. Gratitude spoken inside a window does something to the length of it. I cannot prove that to you tonight. I can only tell you that every long window I have ever witnessed belonged to a thankful person, and I have stopped believing that is coincidence. And one more scene, further out, because you are older than 1 year of vision. Somewhere ahead, there is a version of this night in reverse. Someone sits across from you, someone you love, maybe someone you raised, and they are frozen at their own threshold, reciting their own borrowed doubts in their own tired voice. And you recognize everything, the costume, the loop, the closing window, because you have been to this bush before. And instead of platitudes, you hand them vocabulary, you name the thief for them, you read their road back to them as receipts, you become for them what this message was for you tonight. Chosen one, that is the real economics of your window. It was never only yours. Windows are generational infrastructure. Every door you walk through stays unlocked behind you. If that future pulled at something in your chest, do one thing for the person it showed you. Share this message with the one face that rose in your mind while I was speaking. Not to your whole list, to the one. Somewhere in your circle is a person standing at their own window with no vocabulary and no map, brushing off their 3 a.m. wakefulness as stress, calling their buried dream unrealistic, obeying a sentence someone pressed into their hand 30 years ago. You know exactly who it is. Send them this, with 5 words of your own. This made me think of you. You may be the Mordecai of somebody else, who was 1 week from missing everything. Before those last practical words, one more piece of housekeeping for your soul about the record you have been writing tonight in the comments. I am here. Window. I release it. I walked it. I have decided. If you have been typing along, scroll your own trail sometime this week when the counterattack flares, because that trail is not engagement. It is evidence. It is the deposition of a person who saw clearly on a Tuesday night, admissible in the court of every doubting Thursday to come. And if you type nothing, and that is fine too, then write one line somewhere private tonight, dated. Tonight I learned why I freeze, and I know what stands over my life. Your future self will find that line at the exact hour it is needed. Words with dates on them are doors that reopen. And hear a word about the others walking this same road beside you, because you have been reading their declarations under this message without knowing what you were looking at. Every one of those comments is a person at a threshold, most of them convinced, exactly like you, that they were the only one frozen while the world moved. Thousands of onlys, all in one room, all invisible to each other until tonight. The thief works so hard to isolate chosen people for one simple reason. A lone believer at a threshold can be delayed almost indefinitely, but there is a physics that happens when the isolated discover they are a generation. So bless the strangers in this room tonight. Chosen one, literally, pick one comment and answer it with a blessing. What you speak over another person at their door has a way of standing at yours when you arrive. Two smaller things while we are still in the practical world, and then we climb to the closing. If this channel and this message have fed you tonight, press the like on your way through and subscribe if you want more teaching that treats you like an adult at a threshold rather than a consumer to be startled twice a week. That is the entire request. This house does not beg, it builds, and it is glad to build with you. And to the person who has been circling back in their mind to the 8 minutes, the one who felt the resonance an hour ago and has been quietly negotiating since, let me say the last word I will say about it, plainly and without pressure. The Genius Switch will still exist next year. Your $39 page may not, and your window certainly behaves as though it will not. You already know which costume has been talking to you since the reveal, and you already know the 3 questions to ask it. Absolutes, thresholds, fruit. Run the inspection, then do what the air in you concludes. The link stays where it has been, in the description and pinned in the first comment. That is all. The rest belongs to you and to the God who opened your window on purpose in a season when the means finally exists. Let me add one caution for the good days, because success has its own ambush. Somewhere in the coming weeks, when the first threads appear and the tailwind becomes undeniable, you will be tempted to accelerate everything, to quit all of it at once, to announce the whole vision, to force doors that were scheduled for later. That surge will feel like faith. Test it anyway, because the thief has a costume for winners too, and it is called momentum without instruction. The same discernment that got you through the door governs the rooms beyond it. Windows open in sequence, chosen one, like locks on a canal. The boat that tries to take 3 locks at once does not arrive early. It sits on the mud, in public, discouraging every boat behind it. Honor the sequence. The God who opened this window is not out of windows. And keep the 8 minutes and the morning watch, even when things accelerate, especially when things accelerate. The wiring that took decades to split does not finish repartnering in 3 good weeks. And busy seasons are precisely when old circuits attempt their comebacks. The practices that open the gap are the practices that keep it open. Never dismantle scaffolding in month 1 just because the wall is finally rising. Now, before the final blessing, I want to give you 60 seconds that may outlast everything else in this message. Wherever you are, unless you are driving, let your eyes close after these instructions, because we are going to visit your threshold together, properly, once, before you visit it alone this week. See the door, not a metaphor door, your actual next threshold, the one your written step points at. See where it stands, the room around it, the light. Notice that it is open, not locked, not guarded, simply open the way it has actually been all along. Now look down at your own hands and see what the years put in them. In one hand, everything the road built, the radar, the spine, the license, the roots, all of it dense and real as tools. In the other hand, one small stone, your one obedient step, absurdly small against the size of the door, exactly the size heaven prefers. And now, feel the quiet, because this is the part that is new. The place beside you where the doorman always stood, feel that it is vacant. No voice in your accent, listing your failures. No archive playing. Just the door, the hands, the stone, and an enormous patient stillness that has been waiting for you since you were 5 years old. From inside that stillness, take one step, just one, in the theater of your mind, all the way across the threshold, and stand there on the far side for 3 full breaths. In, out, in, out, in, out. Now anchor it in your body before you open your eyes. Press one hand flat over your chest and say inside, where only heaven can hear it, I know the way now, because you do. Your nervous system has now crossed that threshold once. The path exists in you. When your body arrives at the real door this week, it will not be the first time, it will be the second. And the second time through any door, chosen one, is always easier. That is not poetry. That is how you were built. Open your eyes. It is time for what I promised you at the beginning, the words that have been waiting at the end of this message since before you pressed play. Come and receive what is yours. Come close now. The teaching is finished. The maps are drawn. The tools are in your hands. And what remains is not information. What remains is the reason all of it was sent. Because a warning from God, chosen one, is never the whole message. It is the envelope. And inside the envelope of every warning heaven has ever issued, there has always been the same second document, folded smaller, easy to miss. A blessing with your name on it, waiting for the moment you were finally still enough to receive it. So be still now, wherever this finds you, in the car with the engine off, in the kitchen after everyone slept, in the dark with one earbud. Be still the way you have not allowed yourself to be in years. Not the stillness of exhaustion, the stillness of arrival. You have walked 3 hours of road tonight, and this is the room the road was leading to. And if the Father were to speak over you directly in this hour, I believe with everything in me that this is what you would hear. My child, I saw you at every window you missed, and I did not turn away from you. I watched you carry verdicts that were never mine, in voices you thought were your own, and my heart broke at the weight, because I never once hired the doorman. Pain hired him. I have been waiting, not for you to become worthy, you were born mine, but for the night you could finally hear the whole truth without drowning in it. This is that night. The moment I set over your life is still open. I did not send this warning to frighten you. I sent it because I refuse to watch you almost live. Let those words find their room in you. Do not rush past them to the next thing. There is no next thing tonight. For once in your hurried, interrupted, overscheduled life, the only assignment in this minute is to be spoken over and to allow it. Now, before you rush to respond to words like those, learn how blessings are received, because almost no one is ever taught, and mishandled blessings evaporate faster than mishandled warnings. There are 3 postures, and only one of them works. The first posture is deflection, and it is epidemic among wounded people. The blessing approaches, and the hands come up, politely, reflexively. Surely, this is for someone further along. Surely words like these belong to cleaner stories than mine. Chosen one, hear how that reflex sounds from the outside. A father speaks over his child, and the child argues jurisdiction. You would never accept that from someone you loved. Stop performing it yourself. Deflected blessings do not wait around. They land where they are received. The second posture is consumption, the softer failure. The blessing lands, the chills come, the eyes fill, and by Thursday it has been metabolized into a nice memory of a moving night, filed beside movies and songs, changing nothing. Emotion is not reception, it is only the doorbell of it. A blessing consumed as content was witnessed, not received. This message has fought that fate for 3 hours, and it can still lose to it in the last 10 minutes if you let tonight become merely something you felt once. The third posture is the one heaven waits for, and the old word for it is Amen, which never meant the meeting is over. It means, so be it, let it be established, I sign. Amen is a receiving posture with a spine in it. It hears the words, agrees with the words, and then, this is the part that separates it forever from consumption. It schedules the words. The blessing says whole, and the Amen buys headphones, a nightly appointment. The blessing says on time, and the Amen writes the stone and sets the dawn. The blessing says unfrozen line, and the Amen sends the message to the one face that rose to mind. Reception, chosen one, is agreement wearing work clothes. Everything in you that has ever truly changed on the far side of an amen like that. So when the final words of this night come, and they are coming in a few minutes, do not deflect them and do not merely feel them, sign them. You will know exactly what that requires, because the whole evening has been teaching you the signature. There is an old Hebrew word I have saved for this exact moment, the way you save the best wine. The word is shalem. You have heard its more famous relative, shalom, and you were probably taught that it means peace, and it does. But underneath, in the root, shalom is not the absence of conflict. It comes from shalem, which means whole, complete, unsplit, every piece present and accounted for. When the ancient blessing says, "The Lord give you peace," it is not wishing you a quiet weekend, chosen one. It is declaring over you the reunion of everything that was divided. Now, hear that word against everything you learned tonight. The child of 98%, unsplit. The two hemispheres, unsplit. The knowing and the doing, in one breath, unsplit. The dreamer and the decider at the same table, unsplit. Science needed a laboratory and a Nobel Prize to find what the blessing has been aiming at for 3,000 years. You were never broken. That was always the wrong word. You were divided. And the entire report of heaven over your life tonight, the warning, the window, the means, all of it collapses into one ancient syllable, moving toward you like weather. Shalem, whole again. So let us fold the whole journey into one page, so you can carry it out of here in one hand. A window stands open over your life, made of configuration, not calendar, and it does not repeat in this form. Its signs are alive in you, the clarity, the wakefulness, the endings, the returning dream, the holy fear. Against it stands a quiet thief, with 4 costumes, busyness, borrowed doubt, old voices, wrong-timing people, and his masterpiece, delay dressed as devotion. His inside partner is a loop in your wiring, built by pain, that fires below language and steals moments in the 2-second gap. Behind you lies a road you misread for decades, 90% walked, every wound installing equipment, radar and spine and license and routes, and the last 10%, the gap itself, is not crossed by more effort but by clearing, displacement at the level of the split, 8 quiet minutes at a time, 1 obedient step at dawn, 1 witness, one moved stone. That is the whole map, chosen one. There is nothing else you needed to know. There was only ever the crossing left, and now the charge, because blessings without assignments evaporate, and you were not built for evaporation. 6 things this week, none of them large. Tonight, before you sleep, write the one obedient step, 1 sentence, 72 hours, a moved stone. Tomorrow at dawn, before the committee convenes, do it with 1 breath and 3 words. You are with me. Each evening for 7 days, run the watch. Where did the demands cluster? Which thought failed inspection? Who held your decisive hours? Find your one bridge person and speak the sentence. I believe I am in a window, and I am about to move. Twice a day, take a small door on purpose. The honest answer, the raised hand, reps for the crossing muscle. And if you said yes to the 8 minutes, keep the appointment daily, headphones on, eyes closed, and let the clearing work while you sleep on schedule. If you said no, keep your no clean and work the other 5 with your whole chest. That is the entire program. Small enough that the thief cannot flood it, concrete enough that the loop cannot fog it, dated enough that heaven can meet it, because heaven, as you now know, keeps appointments. Before the final words, I want to pause and simply honor what happened here tonight, because I have learned never to rush this part. Somewhere in the last 3 hours, in living rooms and parked cars and night shifts across the world, something statistically unreasonable occurred. Thousands of people who believed they were uniquely, privately, incurably stuck, heard their own secret architecture described out loud and discovered it had a name and a history and an exit. I do not take that lightly. I have watched many messages move through many rooms, and there is a particular quality to a night when the message and the season land together, a kind of hush underneath the words. This night has had it since the first minute. You felt it too. That hush was never me, chosen one. That was the room being entered by the one the message belongs to. And I want to honor you, specifically, not flatter, honor. You stayed 3 hours on the subject of your own deepest freeze without flinching away to something easier. Do you understand what that already proves? The person the loop built would have left in the first 10 minutes and has left 100 times from shorter and gentler mirrors than this one. You looked at the pit, the costumes, the archive, the wasted windows, all of it, steadily, to the end. Whatever else is true, the person finishing this message is already not the person who pressed play. Attention this sustained, on a wound this old, is not consumption. It is the first act of authority over it. Before we release, take inventory of what you are still holding, because you cannot lay down luggage you have not admitted to carrying. Do this with me honestly, 1 shelf at a time. Somewhere in you, there is a shelf of sentences, the spoken ones, from teachers and parents and enemies and friends. The archive the thief has been playing at your thresholds for decades. You know the exact wording of your worst 3. Everyone does. Below it, there is a shelf of verdicts, the ones you wrote yourself, in your own hand, after each missed window. Lazy, coward, too late now. Self-authored contempt, renewed annually, signed in the dark. There is a shelf of griefs, the closed windows themselves, the doors you still visit at night, the parallel lives you sometimes watch like films through glass. And there is a shelf, be honest now, of alibis, the comfortable explanations, the waiting on God that had no assignment in it, the realism that was fear with a resume, the busyness you half invited because a flooded schedule asks no frightening questions. 4 shelves, chosen one. That is the full luggage of an almost life. You have carried it so long that your frame bent around it, and you called the bending your personality. Look at it now, all of it, one long moment. This is the last night. It all rides free. So now, stand with me at the altar of this thing, because before the declaration there must be a laying down. You cannot carry the new season and the old luggage in the same two hands. We release now. Breathe in slowly, and with each exhale, let one thing leave. Release the sentence that was pressed into your hand as a child, the one you have been guarding like it was scripture. It was never scripture. Release the verdicts from voices that could not see what you carried. They were describing their ceiling. It was never your sky. Release the windows that closed, all of them, the ones you grieve at night and the ones you never dared count. They were real, and they are finished, and their grief has done its work. The funeral ends tonight. Release the years you spent calling yourself lazy, broken, too much, not enough, wrong diagnosis, all of it. You were divided, and division is ending. Release the beggar posture. Palms down now. Heirs do not plead at doors they own. Release the fantasy of the perfect ready. It was never coming. It was never needed. Release the comfort that has been lying about the clock. 70% fine was never fine. It was embalming fluid with good lighting. And release the thief himself, the watcher, the doorman, the whole apparatus of your delay. Not with hatred, with dismissal. He was never mightier than you. He was only earlier than your understanding, and your understanding has arrived. Feel the weight difference in the room. That is what a soul sounds like when it stops holding its own chains in place. And now rise. Whatever posture your body is in, let your spirit stand at its full height, because declarations are not made kneeling, and what comes next is a declaration. These words are not affirmations, chosen one. Affirmations are wishes in nice clothes. These are findings of fact, the verdict of everything uncovered tonight, and I want them spoken, out loud, if you have any privacy at all, mouthed if you do not, because the record of heaven takes dictation from moving lips. Say it. I am chosen, not flattered, chosen. Marked before the static, called before the voices, kept through every wasted window. Say it. I am whole. The dreamer and the decider sit at one table now. What was divided is being reunited, and division has no further authority in me. Say it. I am prepared. Every scar was curriculum. Every delay was installation. I do not arrive at my door as an applicant. I arrive as the receipt. Say it. I am on time. Not too late, not too old, not too far gone. The window and the means and the understanding arrived in the same season, and so did I. Say it. I am not waiting anymore. The stone is chosen. The dawn is scheduled. The step is mine, and I will take it. And say this last one slowly, because it is the deepest cut of the night. I am not the almost. My bloodline ends its pattern here. The gap that ate the generations closes with me. That is the peak of this entire message, and you just spoke it yourself. Not me, you. Remember that detail on the hard days. The most important words of tonight were in your voice, not mine. Now seal it in the open, one final time, where the record holds. Type the words, I walk through. 3 words, your last comment of the night, the flag planted at the threshold. I walk through. Let the thief read it every time he considers you from now on. Hear now what you actually are from this night forward, because declarations deserve job descriptions, and heaven has never once anointed a person for private consumption alone. In your house, you are now the thermostat, and no longer the thermometer. For years, you registered the temperature of every room you entered, absorbing moods, inheriting storms. A synchronized person sets temperature. Watch what happens at your table over the coming months as the calm you are building begins to regulate people who could never explain why they breathe easier around you now. No sermon required. Wholeness is contagious in close quarters. In your work, you are now the one who sees windows, and companies and teams and churches are starving for exactly that sight. Most rooms are full of people managing chronos, calendars and deadlines and quarters. Almost no one in any room can smell Kairos, the opening, The moment when one move outweighs a season of moves. You now can. That sight will make you strange at first, then indispensable. Steward it humbly. Speak it plainly. Let the results introduce you. And in your bloodline, you are now the hinge. Everything upstream of you, the frozen gifts, the buried music, the brilliance that died in kitchens and break rooms across your family history, all of it pressed toward this night without knowing your name. Everything downstream of you, children born and unborn, nieces, students, the ones who will sit across from you at some future table with their own trembling thresholds. They inherit either the old dialect of freezing or the new one of crossing. Hinges do not get to be neutral, chosen one. You already know which way this one turned. It turned tonight. Now let the room grow quiet again, because after the peak, there is always the settling, the way the temple must have sounded after the singers finished. Stone still humming. Stay in that hum for a moment. Nothing to perform, nothing to fix, nothing to chase. Just a person, a window, a cleared road, and a God who keeps appointments. You will not feel this exact stillness again for a while. Life will come back loud in the morning, so drink it now, all the way down. This is what on time feels like. Memorize it. A few last things spoken softly, the way true endings deserve. Watch your dreams this week, the sleeping kind. Threshold seasons speak in that language, and now that the static is lifting, the reception improves. Keep something to write with near the bed. Not everything will be a message, but you only need to catch the one that is. When the counterattack comes, and it will come, do not write to me in despair as though the message failed. Pull up your own trail. I am here. Window, I release it. I walked it. I have decided. I walk through. Read it in order, dated, in your own hand. That is not nostalgia. That is your deposition, and depositions do not flinch. And when your crossing comes, and it is closer than you think, come back and tell this room. Not for me, though I will read it. For the one who arrives at this message a year from now, frozen at their own threshold, scrolling at 3 in the morning, looking for one shred of evidence that the gap can actually be crossed by an ordinary person. Your comment will be their first lamp. Windows are generational infrastructure, chosen one. Every door you walk through stays unlocked behind you. If this message fed you, the like and the subscription tell this house to keep building teachings like it, and the shared link puts a lamp in one more dark room. And if tonight was your yes to the 8 minutes, then let tonight be night 1. Headphones on, eyes closed, before you sleep. The first sweep of static, off a line that has waited most of your life. The link rests where it has rested all along, in the description below, and pinned in the first comment. Handle the details tonight, chosen one, because Dawn has an appointment with you, and I would not have you up late shopping when you were meant to be up early crossing. There is one more message after this one. There always is, because windows open in sequence, and the room beyond this door has its own doors. When you have taken the step, when the first threads have appeared, you will begin to ask a new question, not how do I cross, but how do I build on the far side? How do I steward acceleration without losing the quiet that made it possible? That message is already waiting for you on this channel, and something tells me you will know the week you need it. This house will be here. It is not going anywhere, and now, neither are you. So receive this final blessing and carry it out of here into your actual, physical, Tuesday morning life. May the window stay bright over you all the days it was measured for, and may you never again mistake its closing signs for ordinary weather. May the thief find your schedule guarded, your thoughts inspected, your archive emptied, and your door, for the first time in his long career, already open and already crossed. May the loop grow quieter in you week by week, until the day you stand at some enormous threshold and feel nothing but the appropriate awe, and step anyway, and realize you cannot remember the last time you froze. May everything the road installed in you find its assignment, the radar its watch, the spine its weight, the license its people, the roots their storm. May your dawn appointments be kept, your stone be moved, your witness be faithful, and your 8 minutes be quiet and deep. And let the blessing go where you actually live, room by room, because a blessing that stays abstract stays ornamental. Over your work, then. May the projects that leaked for years begin to compound. May the right name cross the right desk in the right week, and may you be present, rested, and unfrozen when the door that has your assignment behind it swings on its quiet hinge. Over your finances. May the arithmetic of the window reach your accounts, provision meeting motion, lamps lighting one at a time, always at the edge of the last light, never early and never once too late. May money lose its pulpit in your decisions and take its proper seat, a tool on the belt of a called person, nothing more, nothing less, over your body. May the vessel be strong for the season it now carries, the sleep deep, the mornings clear, the static thin. You have one set of hands for this window, chosen one. May they be steady. Over your family, the easy ones and the difficult ones. May the bridge people be revealed and the gate people be blessed on their way. May at least one person under your roof or inside your heart look at your crossing and quietly begin their own. That is how houses change, one visible threshold at a time. And over your mind, the long battlefield itself. May the committee keep missing its meetings. May the archive stay empty and the inspection stay sharp. May the 3 questions rise on their own now. Absolutes, thresholds, fruit, like sentries who no longer need waking. And may the quiet you touch tonight become the floor you live on, not a place you visit. And may you live the rest of your life as what you declared tonight, not the almost, but the one who walked through, the ancestor of an unfrozen line, the answer to prayers prayed over you by people who never learned your name. I want to leave you with the archer, because we began with him, and endings should honor beginnings. Somewhere in an ancient field, behind obstacles, a target waits. The archer has trained for years he did not choose, in weather he did not order, with a bow built out of everything that ever bent him. And the gap appears, the Kairos, the narrow opening the whole discipline existed for. Here is the detail I held back at the beginning. In that instant, the archer does not add effort. Watch his hands. The draw is already finished, the aim is already true, and the final act, the one everything depended on, is a release. Fingers opening, effort ending at the exact moment it matters most. The arrow flies because he finally stopped holding it. Chosen one, you have been drawn for decades. Tonight was never about pulling harder. It was about the opening of the hand. The sentence leaves, the verdict leaves, the doorman leaves. The stone leaves your palm at dawn and lands on the far side of a threshold with your name on it. Release was the skill all along, and you have been practicing it for 3 hours without noticing. One day, and I believe this with a full heart, you will stand somewhere I cannot picture, and you cannot either, on the far side of doors that do not exist yet, and you will try to tell someone about the night everything turned. You will find, as everyone finds, that it does not translate. It will sound like a video, a late night, a strange 3 hours. You will not be able to hand them the hush. And so you will do the only thing that has ever worked. You will look at their threshold and name their thief and read their road back to them as receipts and stand as witness at their dawn. The message survives by incarnation, chosen one. Tonight it was me. Next season it is you. The house is quiet now. The window is bright. The stone is chosen and the dawn is set. And heaven is doing what heaven has done since the beginning of every appointed thing, leaning in, watching its child stand at the edge of the life it prepared, with everything, at last, in place. The moment came once. You were awake for it. That is the whole miracle, and it is enough. Go in wholeness, chosen one, Shalem. It is sealed, and so it is.